In today's English lesson, you are going to learn over 20 advanced terms you might see on the IELTS or the TOEFL exam, or terms you might hear on the news. The peace deal with Iran is in, and it is worse than we thought. In today's English lesson, we are going to look at 3 clips. One from MSNBC.
What else is actually in here tangibly already figured out?
They hate Trump and they hate this peace deal. Then we are going to watch a clip from Tucker Carlson. He used to love President Trump. Now, not so much.
But Trump made it much worse.
And finally, we will watch an interview with President Trump.
This way, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD.
And how some people are saying our Vice President, JD Vance, is going to be the scapegoat for this horrible deal. He is going to take the fall. We'll talk about those 2 terms and so much more in this English lesson. It's too wet to teach outside, so I will go inside. How about you watch the clip? Also, if this is your first time here, subscribe, or maybe YouTube unsubscribed you. Please check. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers this year. I'll go inside. Enjoy the clip.
There's so much here, I think. To me, and I asked you this before we got on set, I said, okay, I'm reading this, and how is this not a more fleshed out version of the ceasefire that is already in effect? And what you said to me is, well, this is basically a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So in addition to it being that, which was open at the start of the war and just sort of gets us back to stasis, what else is actually in here tangibly already figured out?
Okay, we are inside. The glasses are on. I'm ready to teach. I hope you are ready to learn. In that MSNBC Now clip, they changed their name. They like Democrats. They don't like Trump. They used the term flesh out. This deal needs to be fleshed out. A brand new English phrasal verb for this channel. Don't believe I have ever taught it before, but it means to add more details or information to a basic plan or idea. And here we have a couple, and it looks like they are planning a new garden. Here's the sentence. Before we start building the new garden, we need to get the plan completely fleshed out. They also used the term stasis, and sometimes you might hear homeostasis, but stasis is a time when nothing is moving, changing, or growing. If the situation is already good, then you want to stay in stasis. But if it's not so good, like in the example, maybe you do want something to change. Here is the sentence. My savings account has been in stasis because I have had to pay for so many car repairs lately. You may remember last week I had some car trouble. It was fixed quickly and it didn't cost too much, which made me happy. Tangibly is next. If something is tangible, you can see it, you can feel it. Tangibly, that's the adverb form, and it means in a way that is very clear, real, and easy to notice. Often something you can touch or feel. And in the picture, we have a woman. She has 3 hands. AI, you need to get better. But she is sitting in a new office chair, and I bet she feels tangibly better. Let's get the sentence. Getting a new office chair tangibly improved my back pain at work. I hope you don't have back pain. I do have several friends who have back pain, and it is impossible to get rid of. That's one thing on the body that is very hard to fix, your back. Hopefully they can figure out how to fix that pain. Figured out? Is this new? This might be review. It's an English phrasal verb, and it means to understand something or find the answer to a problem. Here we have a couple, again, a few more arms than normal, but the important part of the picture is a washing machine. And it's not working, or it wasn't working before, but maybe the guy has figured out the problem. My husband finally figured out how to fix the broken washing machine.
Gets us back to stasis. What else is actually in here tangibly already figured out?
Virtually nothing.
Okay.
And that's why this is such a victory and a surprise, really, for Iran. And it's actually reopening the strait on Iran's terms. There's still a possibility here for Iran to charge tolls.
Virtually nothing. That means almost zero, almost nothing at all. So maybe somebody asks you, hey, what are you doing this weekend? You could say, virtually nothing, which means you might have a few things to do, but they're not that important. Let's get another sentence. By the time Friday arrives, there is virtually nothing left in our refrigerator. And right now, both of my children are home from college for the summer. And I noticed that our food is disappearing more often than usual. When it's just me and my wife, food seems to last a really long time in the house. When they're home, not so much. So will Iran be charging tolls to use the Strait of Hormuz? If you don't know what tolls are, you will right now. Those are a fee or tax you pay to drive on certain roads or bridges, or maybe use the Strait of Hormuz. We had to pay 3 tolls on the highway during our family vacation.
There's still a possibility here for Iran to charge tolls, that it can take control of the strait, a power it has never had before. And that's what won the war for Iran. It was closing the strait. The most revealing statements, David Sanger said this in the New York Times, was Trump's statement, I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
We have another English phrasal verb, to take control of something. Do you know what that means? Take. It's such a difficult word in English. It has so many different definitions. But here, take control means to become the boss, the leader, or the person managing the situation. And in the picture, you can see there are 4 children there. 2 of them are on the floor playing a board game, Monopoly. But hey, maybe things are getting a little crazy. Maybe they are starting to have a fight. When the children start arguing, the mother had to take control of the room. She is now the boss.
Was Trump's statement, I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. I had to check my history lessons.
Yeah. Take us through the annals. Yeah.
Well, I was, World War I and other things, but he essentially went down in history as causing and mishandling the Great Depression.
MSNBC or MSN Now, whatever they are calling themselves, they talked about a little history. And we're going to talk about Herbert Hoover, the Great Depression, and Hoovervilles. So wherever you are living, there's a good chance in like the 1930s, times were tough. There wasn't a lot of money. This was right before World War II, right after World War I. And we call it the Great Depression. That's when the United States didn't have any money. And I think it was worse in a lot of other places, especially Germany. So Herbert Hoover was the president during the Great Depression, and a lot of people blame him for making the money problems in the U.S. worse. So let's talk about him. He was the 31st president of the United States. Herbert Hoover was the American president during a very difficult economic time. And just remember, if you don't know economic, it always has something to do with money. So here's the official definition for the Great Depression, or at least that's what we say in English. A long, sad period in the 1930s when many people across the world lost their money, jobs, and homes. My parents learned how to cook very cheap meals during the Great Depression. And so many Americans lost their homes during this time that they had to move into these little shacks. And there were whole cities of these little shacks, and they were named after the president, Herbert Hoover, and they were called Hoovervilles, poor, dirty towns built by homeless people during the 1930s, named after President Hoover. Families who lost their houses had to build small shacks and Hoovervilles to stay warm. So when they were looking back at history, they talked about the annals. They also mentioned World War I with Herbert Hoover. They shouldn't have. Woodrow Wilson was our president during World War I, but the Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I, probably caused the Great Depression because so much money had to be paid by Germany to the people who won the war. It's a lot like what's happening now. The United States has to pay billions and billions of dollars back to Iran. So it's kind of like we lost the war, right? In the United States, maybe the United States isn't paying all of the $300 billion, but it's coming from somewhere. So when they were talking about history, they talked about looking back in the annals. And those are history records or history books written year by year. The invention of the internet will always be remembered in the annals of history. Were you alive when the internet was invented? I was, and probably the first time I got on the internet, if you look at that year in the picture, it was probably 1995.
And so the president's bravado through all these weeks that, we're winning and we're, bombing the hell out of them, beneath it, they used economic levers. They used shutting the Strait of Hormuz. They used a global energy crisis to win this war.
What if somebody has a lot of bravado? That is when someone acts like they are brave and confident, but they're actually scared or unsure. And in the picture, we have the manager of a store. Here's the sentence. The new manager spoke with a lot of bravado, but he did not know how to run the store.
But Trump made it much worse. Again, this is the last group of Americans who reliably support Trump, neocons.
Okay, you just saw Tucker Carlson there. He doesn't like this deal either. When President Trump first got elected, he and President Trump were tight, which is another way to say they were friends. Not so much anymore. And he talks about neocons. It's just a short word for neoconservatives, a political group in the United States that believes in strong military power. Conservatives are like Republicans. They're not quite the same thing all the time, but when you hear conservative, think more Republican than Democrat. Here's a sentence. My friends like to discuss the beliefs of the neocons when we watch the evening news.
He did what they wanted. They've been talking about this war, as Netanyahu himself said, for 30 odd years. And Trump is the first American president who actually did it. He fell for it.
Tucker Carlson mentions 30 odd years. You could pretty much say like 20 odd years, 40 odd years, not 10 odd years, or you could say 100 odd years. But it's a good term to know when you don't know the exact number. Blank odd years is a phrase used to guess the number of years, meaning a little more than. So the man in the picture, he is a mechanic. I have worked as a mechanic for 30 odd years. Tucker Carlson also says President Trump got tricked or he fell for it. And if he fell for it, that means he believed a trick, a lie, or a joke. Take a look at the little boy in the picture. It looks like he loves dinosaurs, but maybe he doesn't like broccoli so much. I told my son that broccoli was magic dinosaur food, and he fell for it. Parents out there, please let me know. Have you ever lied to your children to get them to eat like fruits or vegetables they didn't like? I don't think I have, to be honest. I can't remember. I don't think so, though.
Fell for it. They lured him into the trap and he just jumped. Hope for the best. It's going to be okay, I promise. Okay, now. So he did. And Trump understands how shafted he got. He understands just how fooled he was.
President Trump was lured into taking this deal. Do you know that verb? It means tricked or tempted by someone or something to come closer by offering a reward. The smell of fresh coffee and eggs lured my teenager out of bed this morning. If anybody likes to fish out there, a lure is what we say in English for the little thing that makes fish come towards the bait. I know I've never taught this term before. He got shafted. This is definitely very informal. It means he was treated very unfairly or cheated out of something good. My brother worked all weekend, but he did not get paid extra, so he felt he got shafted.
Thank you, President Trump. I have a question about this weekend. Why not stick around for the signing ceremony with this Iran peace deal?
I might.
You might.
Yeah, I might. But I'd rather, this is a memorandum of understanding. It's very important, but it might not be the kind of a document that I should be signing.
There's some element to this where you send the vice president. If it works out, great, you look like a genius for sending him. And if it doesn't work out, it's the vice president's
I
fault.
like that idea, sure. Well, this way, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD. He's going to turn his plane around and get the hell out of here. Yeah, I like that idea.
All right, you just watched that interview, that question and answer session with President Trump, and he said, yeah, maybe I'll stick around. Great English phrasal verb to know. A lot of English speakers will use this, and it means to stay in a place for a little while longer. If you stick around after dinner, we are going to cut the birthday cake. Oh, if I knew cake was going to be served after dinner, I would definitely stick around. MOU, I have never heard this term so much as in the past week. It seems like every news station is saying MOU. It's an acronym. It's a short way to say Memorandum of Understanding, a formal written agreement. And in the past English lesson about this deal with Iran, we talked about what a memo is. I'll leave a link to that English lesson at the end of this one. Here's the sentence. Before our company starts the new project, the boss needs to sign the MOU. Another very common phrasal verb we should talk about, works out. If something works out, that's a good thing. It means when a problem finishes with a good result. Yeah, we also use working out when you're exercising. Moving to a new country is scary, but usually everything works out in the end. Have you ever been called a genius? I hope so, because that is a person who is incredibly smart or clever. My daughter set up my new smartphone in 5 minutes. I think she's a genius. Have you ever been blamed for something you did? What does it mean if you blame him or her or you? It is to say that a bad thing or mistake is his fault. The dog ruined the beautiful garden, so you cannot blame him for the mess. Oh, I will blame the dog. Absolutely. I will not give him treats for 1 week because he messed up the garden. I want to take a second to thank all of my channel members. You support the channel each month. I just released a bonus video about English phrasal verbs you can use for the summer. There's information in the description if you would like to become a channel member and get those bonus English lessons every week. Thanks so much for watching. Right down there is that other English lesson about the deal with Iran. I have good news. By the end of this English lesson, you will know 15 new advanced words you can use in your next English conversation, or words you will know when you see them on the IELTS or the TOEFL exam. But that is where the good news ends. In today's English lesson, we are going to read an article about a young woman. She was 21 years old, living in Sao Paulo, Brazil. She and her fiance. A fiance is a term we use in English meaning they are going to get married. So she had a fiance and she went bungee jumping with her fiance. Her fiance is going to witness this tragic event, this tragic incident. Because the people working at this company didn't know what they were doing, they threw her off the bridge. She did not have a cord attached. She did not have a rope attached, and she fell to her death. Okay, I have the article that we are going to read together. I will leave a link to this article and a pronunciation guide at the end of this video. Let's read the headline. It says, "Tragedy in Brazil, extreme sports jump ends in sadness." We have a figure here explaining what happened, a technical rendering of the incident at Skeleton Bridge. The 21-year-old victim plunged 40 meters after crew members failed to secure the safety line, and that is indicated in red, to her body prior to launch. So I will read the first paragraph. In that first paragraph, there are 4 words that are highlighted that I think might give you trouble, words you might see on the IELTS or the TOEFL. I will explain those 4 words after I read the entire paragraph. Sao Paulo. A fatal incident happened this past weekend in Brazil. A 21-year-old woman named Maria Eduarda Rodrigues de Freitas, and I do apologize because I know I mispronounced her name, died during an extreme sports activity. She fell 40 meters from a bridge because of the apparent negligence of the workers who failed to attach her safety rope. And I need to send my thoughts to her fiance and Maria's family. Just a tragic event. My daughter is about the same age. I can't imagine what they are going through. But the first word is fatal. It's an adjective. This was a fatal incident. This was a fatal accident. And fatal means causing death. The lack of a safety rope proved to be a fatal mistake for the jumper. In the article, they used incident. In the introduction to this English lesson, I used incident. Let's make sure you know what that means. It's a noun, and it is an event, usually an unexpected or unpleasant one. So you might know I teach in a classroom, and maybe I was out the day before. And if I come back to the classroom and one of my colleagues say, "Hey, we had an incident in the class yesterday," I automatically think something bad happened. Let's get a sentence to help you understand incident. Emergency workers arrived quickly after the tragic incident at the bridge. If something is very obvious, if it is known, it's apparent. Apparent. I know there can be 2 words, a parent meaning like a father or a mother, but if you notice, this is 1 word, it's an adjective, and it means easy to see or understand. Obvious. I know there is a B in obvious, but we don't pronounce that B. Take a look at the picture. We have a young student. She does not look happy. Here's the sentence. It became apparent after failing the test that she needed to study more. And that looks like a math test, possibly. If I look at the back of the room on the whiteboard, that does look like some sort of math work. Please let me know in the comments when you were in school, or maybe you are still in school. Was math a good subject for you? I will answer that right now. Math was probably my worst subject. I struggled with math quite a bit. Can you imagine what my favorite subject was? Yeah, it was English. I also liked history quite a bit too. Negligence. We often use this when we are talking about court cases. Negligent is also the adjective form of negligence. Let's get the definition. Failure to give enough care or attention, resulting in harm. The company was shut down due to severe negligence after the accident. Sometimes parents can be found negligent if they don't care for their children enough, if they don't watch them enough. If a child gets badly hurt in the parent's care, they may be found negligent. Let's get back to the article and read the second paragraph. An accident happened on Saturday morning at the Skeleton Bridge in Sao Paulo. Maria was doing a rope jump, which requires, I'm at the top of the next column now, specialized equipment. It is crucial to ensure every connection is secure before a jump. However, a video shows workers throwing her from the bridge while her safety cord was still lying on the ground. People watching shouted to warn them, but it was too late. So we have 4 more words to look at, and that first one is equipment. Equipment is the specific tools or items needed for a particular purpose. Climbers must carefully check all their safety equipment before starting. Some of the equipment you might need to learn English would be possibly glasses, maybe a dictionary, maybe a computer, maybe a book, maybe a pen and a pencil. They also used the term crucial. It is crucial you study your English every day to improve. Let's get the definition. Extremely important or necessary. Wearing a secure helmet is crucial for your safety in extreme sports. And the thing that woman is wearing on her head, in English, we call that a helmet. To ensure something, it is a verb and it means to make certain that something happens or is safe. The guide must double check the lock to ensure the gate is properly closed. And if you have been watching this channel for any length of time, you know this word. This could be review. Authorities. Authorities are the people or organizations in charge of a particular area. The local authorities closed the bridge during the safety inspection. Now I will read the third paragraph. Authorities arrived quickly, but Maria did not survive the fall. A subsequent investigation began immediately. The police, now I am right at the top of the next page. The police arrested 3 men for completely ignoring safety regulations. Initial reports indicate that there was a severe lack of supervision by the company organizing the jump. Okay, they used subsequent in that piece of the article. This might be new for you. Subsequent, it's a great word to know. It means happening after something else. Now, I used AI for this picture because this will probably never happen. But if you take a look at the picture, the US beat France. Last night, I watched France play in the World Cup. Mbappe looked good. France is going to be tough. The team won their first game of the season, but unfortunately, they lost most of their subsequent matches. So those subsequent matches are the matches that happened after the first match. They also used investigation in that part of the article, and that is an official examination of the facts about a situation or crime. Detectives launched a thorough investigation into the cause of the crash. If you are going to do something dangerous, hopefully there are regulations there to protect you. Regulations are official rules made by a government or organization. New safety regulations require all instructors to pass a difficult test. Indicate is next. It's a verb and it means to show, point out. There's an English phrasal verb there, or make something clear. The red warning signs clearly indicate that swimming is dangerous here. They also used supervision. That's the noun. Supervise is the verb. Each day in class, I have to supervise my students, and that means watching over a person or activity to ensure it is done safely. When children are at school, they are under the supervision of the teacher. It's super sad to know that the workers at that company didn't have the awareness to attach that safety rope. Let's talk about what it means to have awareness, knowledge, or understanding of a particular situation or subject. It is clear that Americans do not eat healthy enough, so it looks like this school is trying to raise awareness for eating healthy vegetables. The school started a new program to raise awareness about the importance of eating fresh vegetables. In the description or the pinned comment of this video, it will take you to my website. Go right down here to view content, and there will be a link where you can download this guide. Let's read that last paragraph. This sad event has increased public awareness about the dangers of adventure tourism. Many people in Brazil are now demanding the government implement stricter safety laws to protect tourists in the future. The article talked about implementing something. Let's get this verb: to put a plan, system, or law into action. You can see that AI made this because this woman has like 3 hands. The government plans to implement new safety laws by the end of next year. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this English lesson. That's it for this one, but if you are looking for more English, there is a live lesson I did this past week about terms you need to know in English for the summer. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Welcome back to another English lesson. In today's English lesson, we are going to look at some very difficult vocabulary about a peace deal between the United States and Iran happening soon. Or as President Trump might say, it is imminent. That's another way to say the peace deal is close. But President Trump has said that 37 times before. So can we believe him? There are 14 parts or 14 points to this peace deal, and most of them make it look like the United States is the big loser in this. Iran will be more powerful than ever. If you like learning English and talking about what is happening in the world, this is the perfect channel for you. Let's watch a small portion of the news clip. I am going to go inside where I can teach English a little better, and I'll see you in just a minute.
Great to see you. So what are we hearing from Tehran about this memo, what the U.S. describes as an agreement?
Iranian state media are reporting that this is a 14-point draft agreement, and they're citing a source close to the Iran negotiating team. Now, as it pertains to oil prices, top of mind here, Tehran says that it could reopen the Strait of Hormuz within 30 days. And then, as Ed was just saying, one of the key issues remains, has always been, for the U.S., Iran's nuclear program. Now, in this Iranian text, Tehran says it would reaffirm its commitment to not develop nuclear weapons.
Okay, so do we believe it? Peace is close. I do have some viewers from Iran. Shout out to anyone watching from Iran. And some say they don't want peace yet. They want the regime to be gone. They want a government they can vote on for themselves. But they talked about a memo in the newscast, and I thought that might be difficult. Native English speakers use this word quite a bit, so let's talk about it. A memo is a short, official written note to people in the same company or office. And you can see these people, they are working in an office, and it looks like the boss has left them a memo. My boss sent a memo to everyone about the new office hours. They say there is a draft for the peace agreement. Let's talk about what a draft means. Sometimes you might write a draft before the final version comes out. A draft, that is the first version of a piece of writing before you fix mistakes and finish it. I wrote the first draft of my report, but I need to check it tomorrow. And depending on who you listen to, the government of Iran could get very rich from this peace deal, like maybe $24 billion worth of frozen assets freed up. We'll talk more about that later, but Iran could make out on this deal. They could get very powerful. As it pertains to a lot of terms here are terms you will hear native English speakers say. It means about or connected to a specific topic. So it looks like we have a little dog here and maybe a vet. Let's read the sentence. I have a question for the doctor as it pertains to my dog's food. Did you know? Maybe a bonus term, a doctor for animals is a veterinarian or simply a vet in English. Reaffirm. Reaffirm. That means you know something and you want to make sure it's true. So let's get the official definition. To say something strongly again, to show it is definitely true. He bought her a beautiful ring to affirm his love. So he knew he loved her already, but he bought that ring for her to like make it even stronger, to prove something is true, like again.
But it did not give a timeline of that 15 to 20 years that Ed was just mentioning. Also, Tehran says that a final agreement on those nuclear issues would be reached after this 60-day negotiating period. But there are some challenges. There are some hurdles here because they say that any talks to get there need to address several things. One, to unfreeze billions of dollars in Iranian funds.
There are some hurdles to getting this peace deal done. Maybe we should take a picture of like actual hurdles, because this is an idiom. So let me make this a little bigger. And in the picture, you can see those Olympians. They are jumping over hurdles. So what does that idiom mean? There are some hurdles. It means there are some problems or difficulties you must solve before you can reach a goal. Do you know what a snowmobile is in English? Where I live in Maine. It's very close to the Canadian border. It snows quite a bit here in the winter, and some of my friends have snowmobiles. I do not, but they're very expensive. So let's take a look at this sentence. I want to start a new hobby, but there are some hurdles because the tools cost too much. My goodness, that snowmobile cost $17,499. I mentioned those frozen funds before, about $24 billion worth of money, funds, assets that Iran had. So let's talk about what it means if those funds are unfrozen, to allow money that was locked or blocked by a bank or government to be used again. The bank will unfreeze the funds so the family can pay for their new house. So I wonder, does Iran even want a nuclear weapon? And when I say Iran, I mean the government. I suppose with $24 billion more dollars, they could possibly buy a nuclear weapon if they wanted one. I don't know where you go to buy a nuclear weapon. Which store can you go to get one of those? May I interrupt for just 1 second? Summer is here. I am currently offering one-on-one private conversations for 60 minutes. I will record it. I will send you the recording after. I can help you with your pronunciation, answer any questions you might have, be your one-on-one speaking partner. Also, sign up for a class with me and I will give you a coupon for 25% off my new course, The Breaking News Decoder. It's a win-win situation. There's a QR code right up there and also more information in the description. Now back to the English lesson.
$12 billion they're asking for. There's a total of $24 billion being held. They're asking for the suspension of oil sanctions on the sale of Iranian oil that's crippled the economy. Also, the lifting of that U.S. blockade, of course, of the Strait of Hormuz.
Sanctions. We've talked quite a bit about sanctions on this channel, but what about the suspension of sanctions? Iran currently has a lot of sanctions on them, but suspension of sanctions means a temporary stop to a trade punishment between two countries. Here's the sentence. The suspension of sanctions means companies can sell food to other countries again. So with Iran, we're talking about oil. Maybe the United States and some other countries will let Iran trade, sell their oil more freely. The more I hear, the more Iran is probably the big winner in this war. Crippled the economy. If something has been crippled, it's been hurt. It's not working as well as it once was. So let's get the official definition. Caused severe damage to a country's money, business, and job system. That last part is about the economy. The high cost of oil crippled the economy, and many small shops closed. They also talked about lifting the blockade. So apparently, Iran has a blockade right now in the Strait of Hormuz, and also the United States has a blockade. They're not letting ships go through. But if that blockade is lifted, it means removing a wall or barrier that stops food, goods, or people from entering a place. Lifting the blockade allowed ships to bring medicine to the people who needed it. If something is off the table, that means you are not talking about it anymore. But here is the official definition. A plan or idea is no longer possible, and people stop talking about it. We wanted to buy a new car, but now it's off the table because we need to save money. Maybe you saw in a post I did a couple of days ago, my car is in the shop. It has had some problems, but I don't think I need to buy a new car. I think it will cost a little money to fix, but in a couple of days, I should be back on the road.
Notably, one last point. Iran says that discussions about its missile program is off the table. Also, its support for its proxy groups here, Hezbollah and Hamas, off the table. They say explicitly excluded. But these are things that Israel has been demanding. Israel not a party to this potential understanding.
Explicitly. Explicitly, that means said or written in a very clear, direct way, so there is no confusion. The school rules explicitly say that children cannot use cell phones in class. I am done with students for the school year, so I do not have to worry about getting new students for a couple months. But I promise, when a new classroom of students come to me, I will explicitly tell them you cannot use cell phones in class.
And again, for Iran, all this still needs final approval. So all of these 14 points could change.
And we've heard earlier this hour, some describe this as almost whiplash, the idea that the president is threatening Iran, attacks are coming, but wait a minute, we have a deal, we're negotiating. How have markets been reacting to that constant back and forth?
Right. Well, investors at this point in time, because of this news, they appear hopeful that a deal is near. But again, we have been here before.
Whiplash. This is when something changes very drastically, very quickly. Here is the definition. A very fast and unexpected change in a situation that surprises you. Take a look at the picture. Looks like we have some hot weather, some cold weather. And if that changes really quickly, that could give you whiplash. The weather gave us whiplash. It was hot on Monday, but it snowed on Wednesday. When I hear the term markets reacting, I automatically think of the economy. I think of money. I think of stocks. Let's get the official definition. Financial systems or businesses changing their prices because of good or bad news. So reacting, it could be in a good way or it can be in a bad way. I imagine if there is peace between Iran and the United States, the markets will react in a positive way. It will be good for us, the consumers, the people who buy things like gas and food. Oil prices are going up because markets are reacting to the news of the storm. We have another idiom. Hey, we've been here before. This has nothing to do with an actual place. Instead, this bad situation is not new. We experienced this exact same problem in the past. My teenager is arguing about homework again. We've been here before. And we have been here before. President Trump saying peace is close. It's imminent. Remember what I said in the intro. He has said it 38 times. Yeah, we've been here before.
Markets I've been looking at across Asia and Europe, they're almost all in the green now. U.S. futures for the S&P and the Dow also higher too, as we're just a few hours away from the market open. And the price of oil, always the barometer here of what's happening.
What if a business is in the green? If a business is in the red, it's not good. But if the business is in the green, or sometimes you even hear the black, that means making a profit or showing positive numbers. It's making money. It's not losing it. After a difficult start, my small restaurant is finally in the green. The futures market, I don't know a lot about this, but I do know it's risky. I know you can make a lot of money on the futures market, but you can also lose a lot of money. Let's get the official definition: a financial place where people agree to buy and sell things today for a fixed price, but deliver them later. So I don't even know how to trade on the futures market. It's just a little bit too scary for me. But here is a sentence. Large companies look at the futures market to guess food prices for the next year. Next, we are going to talk about the barometer. So we have an actual device, the barometer. They do not use that in the newscast. They use the idiom. So let's talk about what a barometer is first. It's a tool that measures air pressure to show if the weather will change. That is a very old looking barometer. I looked at the barometer on the wall and it shows that rain is coming, but this is the way they used it in the newscast. Something that shows how a general situation is changing or how people feel. The number of people buying houses is a good barometer for a healthy economy. And I am not a financial expert. I pretty much go to the gas pump. If gas prices are low, that's a good barometer for me to say, oh, the economy must be okay. If gas prices are high, that's a barometer for me to say, ooh, we could be in some financial trouble. In English, do you know a person who studies money is called an economist? I'm not an economist. I'm just an English teacher.
The price of Brent crude is now just a little over $87 a barrel, and it has not been that low since the early days of this war, since even before the start of this war, frankly. One caveat to this, though, is that even if all this goes ahead, even if the talks continue on for the next 60 days, we could still see oil prices jump sometime in July.
Hey, my first name here, Brent Crude. This has something to do with oil, a type of high quality oil from the sea that sets the standard price for oil around the world. Well, at least Brent crude oil is like high quality. That makes me feel good. I wouldn't want to see like bad oil called Brent. When the price of Brent crude goes up, it costs more to put gas in my car. They use the term bucks in the newscast. It's pretty much just another way to say dollars. Also, bucks, that's another name for a male deer. Here's the official definition: an informal, friendly word for dollars or money. This morning, a cup of coffee and a pastry cost me $8. Okay, next we have caveat. Caveat, that is a warning or an extra rule you must remember before you agree to something. You can borrow my laptop, but there is one caveat. You must return it by 5 p.m. Okay, here we have another idiom because like prices can't jump, but I wanted to make sure you knew what that meant. The cost of items might increase very quickly and suddenly. If it does not rain soon, vegetable prices may jump next month. And here we have an English phrasal verb. If something runs out, do you know what that means? Well, if you don't, you will right now. It means something like a contract, time, or supply will finish or expire at that specific time. So this morning when I had my breakfast, I used all the milk. So at my house, we have run out of milk. So I need to go to the store later to buy some more. But if you take a look at the picture here, we are talking about time. My car insurance policy runs out then, so I need to pay for a new one before Friday.
We could still see oil prices jump sometime in July. That's because there's been this huge emergency release of 400 million barrels. This was back in March, and that ends in 4 months: March, April, May, June, July. And that runs out then. So this all still needs to be solidified with the signing. But you were talking about the back and forth here. Not my count, but Tasnim's news agency, this is Iranians, one of Iran's state media, said that President Trump, by their count, has said a deal was imminent 38 times in the past 2 months. So we're looking ahead to this next week to see if this one actually does get done.
Maybe the 39th time is the charm. We will find out. Ramy, thanks so much.
Solidify. Solidify. It's a great verb to know. To make a plan or idea certain, strong, and fixed so it does not change. We need to meet tonight to solidify our plans for summer vacation. And it looks like those friends are planning a trip to Peru. Imminent. I've used this term before. I've briefly explained it. Let's get the official definition right now. Happening very soon or about to happen at any moment. Take a look at that picture. Those clouds, it makes me think a storm is imminent. Let's read the sentence. The dark sky and strong wind mean a big storm is imminent. At the end of that newscast, the reporter says maybe the 28th time is a charm. That comes from an expression we have here in the United States. Third time's a charm. Means maybe you've tried something 2 times and it didn't work, but on the third time it works. Maybe you're taking the IELTS or the TOEFL exam and you failed it twice, but you pass on the third time. Let's get the official definition. Used when you succeed on your third try after failing the first 2 times. So in the picture, you can see a young man. Maybe he has taken his driver's test twice and has failed, but he passed on the third time. Let's get the sentence. I failed my driving test twice, but I passed today. Third time's a charm. And that is going to do it. Don't forget, if you would like to schedule a private conversation with me, right up there is a QR code. Also, check the comments. And right down there is another English lesson about this war between the United States and Iran. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Welcome back to another English lesson where in just about 15 minutes, you can improve your English. It's getting serious again in Iran. Protests are starting up again. But because of the internet blackout, it is tough to tell what is going on. In this English lesson, you will learn words like erupting. We'll talk about that internet blackout. You will learn the adjective radical. We will talk about the verb slaughtered and so much more. But before we watch the newscast, I have a question for you. In which country did women get the right to vote first? Switzerland or Iran? The answer is going to surprise you.
Iran, student protests erupting, the first sign of dissent since the internet blackout was lifted last month. And exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi says they won't give up their fight.
So before we watched that first part of the news clip, I asked you, in which country did women get the right to vote first? Was it Iran or Switzerland? And as you can see, in Iran, women got the right to vote in 1963. It wasn't until 1971 where women got the right to vote in Switzerland. Okay, the glasses are going on because we are getting serious. The first word they used, I thought you could learn, was erupting. It is a verb, and it means suddenly bursting out with a lot of force, like a volcano or a group of people suddenly making a lot of noise. The children were playing a fun game, and the living room was erupting with laughter. I have a question for you. Which board game is your favorite? Which one makes you laugh the most? I have had a lot of good times playing Monopoly with my family. And just in case you don't know what a volcano is and what it looks like when it erupts, there's a video for you. Dissent. What if an office has a lot of dissent? I'll give you a hint. It's not a fun place to work. Dissent means a strong disagreement with an official rule, opinion, or decision. There was some dissent among the office workers when the boss changed the weekend schedule. Let me ask you, do you have to work weekends? I teach in a classroom in the United States. I get Saturdays and Sundays off, but of course, I usually teach or prepare lessons for YouTube on the weekends. Internet blackout, I used it in the intro. Let's get the official definition. A time when the internet completely stops working in a city, country, or area. I could not send any work emails yesterday because of a sudden internet blackout in our neighborhood. If you just hear about a blackout, that probably means electricity. Somebody living in exile, let's talk about what that means. Being forced to leave your home country and live in another place, usually for political reasons. You take a look at that picture, looks like we have an author. Looks like he is enjoying some coffee, but probably not in his home country. The famous writer had to live in exile for 10 years because the government did not like his books.
The kinetic strikes to begin again.
Well, good morning, and it's very good to be with you. The people of Iran want to be free. The people of Iran for 47 years have suffered under this radical Islamist regime that took their country, Iran, one of the oldest and greatest civilizations in the world, that introduced the concept of human rights and equality and dignity, where the women of Iran had the right to vote before the women of Switzerland in the 1960s and 70s. That's the Iran they want. And that's why in January, when they went to the streets for freedom, when 40,000 innocent protesters were slaughtered.
Kinetic strikes. You usually don't hear that word kinetic outside of science. Sometimes you will hear kinetic energy, but they used kinetic in the newscast. So let's talk about what kinetic strikes are. Military attacks that use physical force, such as bombs or missiles. The evening news reported kinetic strikes on military buildings near the border. Often you will just hear strikes. What if somebody is radical or they have been radicalized? Let's get the definition. It means very new, different, and exciting compared to what is traditional or normal. So this can be good or it can be bad. In the sentence, it's good. Changing her career at 50 was a radical choice, but she is very happy with her new job. So I've been teaching in the classroom for almost 25 years. If I suddenly decided to try and be a doctor, that would be a radical change, and I don't think I could do it. I'm just too old. But a lot of times when we're talking about politics and somebody is radical or they have been radicalized, it means they are extreme. They are willing to do dangerous things for what they believe in. A concept. Let's talk about that. That is a tough word to define. A basic idea or principle of how something works. For example, I don't really have any concept of how the human brain works. It is a complete puzzle to me. Let's get another example. My son is 8 years old, and he is learning the concept of sharing his toys with his friends. Well, it looks like he's doing a pretty good job there because he is letting his friend hold the toy.
Greatest civilizations in the world that introduced the concept of human rights and equality and dignity, where the women of Iran had the right to vote before the women of Switzerland in the 1960s and 70s. That's the Iran they want. And that's why in January, when they went to the streets for freedom, when 40,000 innocent protesters were slaughtered, they called on President Trump. They asked for his grace. They asked for his support, for his leadership.
Dignity. Dignity, what does that mean? It means calm, serious, and respectful behavior that makes other people respect you. Look at the man in the coffee shop. He doesn't look happy. Even when customers are rude, she always speaks calmly and keeps her dignity. Slaughtered is next. Not a good word when we're talking about people. If you're a vegetarian, you might not like the way it's normally used when we talk about animals. Killed in a violent way or killed for food used for farm animals. The local farmers prepared the animals to be slaughtered for the winter food market, but they are talking about students being slaughtered on the streets in Iran. Of course, that is horrible. They are not dying with dignity. Let me be honest. I want this war with Iran to end as quickly as possible for selfish reasons, mostly. I want to visit Iran. I want to visit that country and experience its beautiful culture, its wonderful history, and meet those beautiful people. I think we could say that most people in Iran believe they are being oppressed. Let's get the official definition for oppressed. Treated in a very cruel, unfair, and controlled way by people in power. In the past, the people felt oppressed by the strict rules of the old king. And if you look at that picture, they do not look happy. They probably don't have a lot of freedom.
And he responded by killing the man who had oppressed the country for 30 years, Ali Khamenei, and they celebrated that. There were images not only of Iranians outside the country, but Iranians inside the country, of people dancing, cheering, passing out sweets that their dictator was dead. And President Trump was the first president in 47 years to do something about it. He was the first president to recognize this threat and to take action against it. And so, frankly, the people of Iran are fearful of a potential deal. They're quite worried because they fear that that will only empower their regime to continue oppressing them.
By watching this English lesson, you are taking action. You are doing something to help you improve your English. Let's talk about what it means if you take action to do something important, to solve a problem, or achieve a goal. We have some parents. They are working on a playground, probably a neighborhood park. Parents need to take action to make sure the school playground is safe for their kids. Potential. I love this word. It means like something could happen, a business agreement or plan that might happen in the future. My company is talking to a new client this afternoon about a potential deal. Seems like every other day in the news, President Trump talks about a potential deal for peace and something goes wrong. Also, by watching this English lesson, you are empowering yourself to improve your English. Nice job. To empower means to give someone the confidence, skills, or freedom to do something successfully. Good managers always empower their employees to make their own decisions at work. I hope you are feeling empowered now. If you want to feel even more empowered, I am offering one-on-one private lessons, just me and you speaking. I will record the lesson, send it to you after. I can correct your pronunciation. I'm also offering a free PDF for this week's live lesson about how to talk to Americans about summer. There's a QR code right up there and a link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. It looks like President Trump has gotten himself into a pickle. In English, if you get yourself into a pickle, that means you made a mistake. In today's English lesson, we are going to watch a news report about how Iran and Israel keep bombing each other and President Trump keeps telling them stop. He wants peace. He wants gas prices to go down so his friends can get elected in the fall. In all, you will learn about 20 new terms in about 20 minutes. If that sounds good to you, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's watch that clip together.
More on this from our chief Washington correspondent, John Carlin. John, let's pick up right there. Israel and Iran both defying President Trump here.
Absolutely. And the president has been up very early this morning, posting on social media, pleading with both of them to stop the attacks. He is trying to salvage what is left of his ceasefire, clearly worried not just about the Iranian actions, but that his ally, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, will blow up what is left of those peace talks.
Okay, you've seen a little bit of the news report, and I do want to give a shout out to anyone watching from Iran, anyone who is from Iranian descent. Maybe you are living somewhere else in the world like Australia or Denmark. My heart goes out to you. I hope this war can end as quickly as possible. All right, the first thing they talked about that I thought might be difficult is chief correspondent. We've talked about correspondent before. That is just a reporter, but maybe chief correspondent is new. The definition, the main or most important reporter for a news company. And here we have a man standing in front of Big Ben. The chief correspondent traveled to London to report on the important news. They also talked about, pick up where we left off, or like pick back up on something. And yes, you can pick something up off the ground, but this is another idiom. We love to use idioms in English, and it means to start an activity again from the exact point where you stopped before. So maybe the workday is ending, but your job is not finished. You just say, hey, tomorrow morning, we'll pick up where we left off. Something like that. Here is a sentence. Let me get my picture out of the way. We ran out of time in yesterday's meeting, so let's pick up where we left off today. Next, we have defying. In the news report, they said the leaders of Israel and Iran are defying President Trump. What does that mean? Well, it's a verb, and it means refusing to obey a person, a rule, or a law. Take a look at that young boy. He shouldn't be defying his parents, but he is. The young boy is defying his parents by refusing to eat his vegetables. Please let me know in the comments. Do you eat your vegetables? I assume most of you are adults. Do you like eating vegetables, or would you rather have a different kind of food? Pleading. President Trump is pleading with those leaders, stop bombing each other. What does it mean if you are pleading? You are asking for something in a serious, emotional, or urgent way. And it looks like that young lady there, she is pleading with someone, maybe her parents. The children were pleading with their father to take them to the park on Sunday. Next, we have the verb salvage. We also use it in a couple different ways, but in the newscast, they used it like this: to save something from being lost, ruined, or destroyed. So in the news report, they were saying that President Trump was hoping he could salvage that peace deal. In the picture, we have something else going on. We have a family visiting Paris, and it is raining outside, so they are trying to salvage their trip. Our vacation was rainy, but we managed to salvage the trip by visiting indoor museums. So their vacation was not completely ruined by the rain. They were able to save at least part of it. They still had some fun. Ceasefire. This might be review. We have talked a lot about ceasefires on this channel. That is an agreement between two fighting sides to stop shooting or fighting. The two countries finally agreed to a ceasefire so they could talk about peace. Oh, I hope a ceasefire can come to those two countries, Ukraine and Russia, and hopefully a ceasefire can come to those who are fighting in the Middle East.
He is trying to salvage what is left of his ceasefire, clearly worried not just about the Iranian actions, but that his ally, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, will blow up what is left of those peace talks.
Ally. I do believe we've talked about allies on this channel before, but an ally is a person, group, or country that helps and supports you, especially in a difficult situation. And in the picture, we have a couple coworkers, and maybe one of the coworkers gets a little overwhelmed with work and the other one helps out. My coworker is a great ally because she always helps me when I have too much work. Oh, this next English phrasal verb has about 500 different definitions. We are only going to talk about one today. To blow something up, it means like to completely destroy it, to completely ruin it. Let's say you are trying to come up with a plan on how you can have a good vacation. Maybe a couple different places you want to go, but then it just becomes too complicated. So you blow those plans up and maybe you start over again. Let's get the official definition: to completely ruin, destroy, or spoil a plan or arrangement. This person, it looks like he is from India and he is trying to go to Sri Lanka, right? Colombo, Sri Lanka. I forgot my passport, which is going to blow up our plans for the weekend trip.
But that his ally, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, will blow up what is left of those peace talks. You saw Tom reference that interview with Axios. The words were quite stark. He said that he was calling Netanyahu right now and telling him not to attack Iran. Each of them had their fun.
This next one can be kind of difficult, referenced, because you have to have something come before something else if you reference it. So let's get the definition and maybe look at a couple more sentences. Mentioned or talked about a specific person, book, or piece of information. In his email, my boss referenced the project we finished last month. A lot of times when I am teaching an English lesson, I will reference an English lesson I did the week before, the month before. And just because this is so difficult, there are 5 other sentences there for you. I can remove my picture. That might help explain referenced. You can pause it here if you would like. Let me read number 3, though. The professor referenced a different book during yesterday's lecture. Right now, I am going to reference a course I developed to help you read and listen and watch the news better in English. Also, I am offering one-on-one speaking sessions, just me and you, for an entire hour. I can help you with your pronunciation, answer any question you have about learning English. I will leave a link to my website where you can find all of that information. Also, a free PDF about the upcoming live lesson on how to talk to Americans about summer. Stark is next. Not a word I really like. Stark. It means very serious, harsh, sad, or unpleasant to look at or think about. Take a look at that picture. The doctor has a pile of sugar cubes. The doctor gave us a stark warning about the dangers of eating too much sugar. I do have another question for you. Please answer it in the comments. Do you think you eat too much sugar? I will answer that right now. For myself, yeah, I do believe I eat too much sugar, just like a lot of Americans.
The words were quite stark. He said that he was calling Netanyahu right now and telling him not to attack Iran. Each of them had their fun, and Iran had its strike. We don't need another one. And George, at about the same time, the president did an interview with the Financial Times, and he said that Benjamin Netanyahu would have to go along with whatever peace deal he gets with Iran. He won't have any choice. I call the shots. I call all the shots. He doesn't call the shots.
President Trump said, hey, you had your fun with the bombing. Now let's get serious. So what does that idiom mean? Like, if they had their fun, it means they enjoyed themselves, but now that time is over and it is time to be serious. The kids had their fun playing outside all afternoon, and now they must do their homework. Very common phrasal verb here in English, go along with. What does it mean? Well, it means to agree with an idea or accept what other people want to do. Like next weekend, my wife really wants to see a new movie that is coming out, Toy Story 5. I love Toy Story. Toy Story is hard to say sometimes. It often makes me cry, but I'll go along with what she wants and I will go to the movies with her. Here's a sentence that goes along with that picture. I do not completely like the new schedule, but I will go along with it to keep the peace. Hey, I call the shots around here. What does that mean? If somebody says they call the shots, that is a phrase that means I am the person who makes the decisions or has the power here. I do not think President Trump calls the shots when it comes to that war in the Middle East. It seems like he wants peace, and a lot of other people aren't listening to him. Here's a sentence. In this kitchen, I call the shots, so please follow my recipe.
He doesn't call the shots. But George, despite all of that, and despite the phone call that he had with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel obviously went on and attacked Iran. Now the president is saying that his peace deal is still on the verge. He's been saying that for now months, saying only subject to ignorance or stupidity getting in the way.
Despite, this is a great word to know in English. It is used to say that something happens even though there is something else trying to stop it. Despite the heavy rain, the parents went to watch their son's soccer game. Have you seen all the teams from Europe coming to the United States to play soccer? It looks like they are going to play their games despite the heat. It could be pretty warm during some of their games. Next, we have verge. Sometimes you will hear on the verge of. Let's talk about what that means. To be very close to experiencing, starting, or doing something. So maybe in your English learning, you are on the verge of becoming a confident speaker. I hope you are. I've actually spoken to some viewers already, maybe Tanya, Sandy. I've spoken to you. You're already very confident in your speaking. After working a 12-hour shift, the tired mother was on the verge of tears. Right now at my school, we are on the verge of summer vacation. We only have 1 week left. What if something is subject to? That means dependent on something else happening or forced to follow a specific rule. Our outdoor picnic is subject to the weather, so we might stay inside if it rains. Ignorance. Ignorance is the noun. If someone has ignorance, we call them ignorant. Ignorant, that is a lack of knowledge, understanding, or information about something. Looks like this man might be ignorant when it comes to cooking. His ignorance about basic cooking meant he burnt the rice every time. What if something is getting in the way of something else? Is work and family getting in the way of your English learning? Do you not have enough time to learn your English? What does it mean if something is getting in the way? Preventing something from happening or making it difficult to do a job. Take a look at that woman. It looks like she wants to clean her house, but it looks like her kids keep getting in the way. I want to clean the living room, but the kids' toys are getting in the way.
And this is hitting home again. Oil prices spiking overnight.
Yeah, oil prices are up, which means gas prices will be up more. The toll of the economy, hitting voters here as Republicans fear for a very difficult midterm election.
Okay, if something is spiking, it means it's going up. And right now, in the United States and probably most of the world, gas prices are spiking right now. Hopefully they come down. Let's get the official definition. Increasing very quickly to a high extreme level. The price of gasoline is spiking this week, so it costs more to drive to work. What if something takes its toll on you or the toll of it? Let's get the official definition for that. The suffering, damage, or tiredness caused by a difficult situation over time. Working 2 jobs is hard, and the toll of it is making him feel very sick. If you are living in Iran or Ukraine right now, I am sure the war is taking its toll on you. Midterm elections. Every president is worried about midterm elections. I will talk more about that after we get the definition. Elections held in the middle of a president's term to choose members of a government or parliament. People are watching the news closely to see which political party will win the midterm elections. Yeah, so President Trump, by this fall of 2026, he will have been in office for about 2 years. American citizens will be going to the polls to vote for other politicians. If more Republicans get elected, then that tells President Trump he's doing a good job. The American people like what he's doing. If more Democrats get elected, well, the American people are telling President Trump the opposite. You're not doing a very good job. We'll watch the midterm elections on this channel. Don't worry, that will do it for this English lesson. Don't forget, check out my website, the course, the one-on-one conversations, the PDF very much free for this upcoming live lesson about summer. And if you're looking for more English right now, there's another English lesson about President Trump and how Congress said, hey, you can't bomb Iran anymore. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Welcome back to another English lesson. Most people think the US president has unlimited power. They can do whatever they want. Well, that's not true. In the United States, we actually have three parts to our government, and one part told Trump, hey, stop bombing Iran. If you like learning English, watching the news, learning more about the United States, this is the perfect channel for you. By the end of this English lesson, you will learn about 20 new terms. Let's watch together.
Capitol Hill, the House has passed a resolution to block President Trump from ordering more strikes on Iran. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian joins us. So explain to us, Nicole, what this war powers resolution means and what happens next.
Well, basically, this is an attempt to rein in the president's authority when it comes to the ongoing conflict in Iran.
First up, Capitol Hill. Many English learners have trouble understanding what Capitol Hill is. Notice the way capital is spelled. We have a couple different ways we spell it. But the definition, the place in Washington, D.C., where U.S. leaders meet to make laws. Leaders on Capitol Hill are talking about new school budgets today. That is where Congress meets. We'll talk about what Congress is, what the House is, what the Senate is a little later. In fact, we will talk about what the House is right now. That is short for the House of Representatives. Let's get the official definition. A large group of elected politicians in the U.S. government who vote on laws. The House voted to give more money to small businesses. And you can see the yays, that means the people who voted yes, and the nays, that equals over 400 people. There are over 400 people in the House of Representatives. You see, that is quite a mouthful to say, so we just usually say the House. They talked about a resolution in the newscast. Do you know what that is? Here's the definition: an official decision or promise made by a government or group. Take a look at the picture. They are at a playground for some reason. Let's read the sentence and find out why. Our city made a resolution to build a new playground for kids. In just the last English lesson about people crawling into manholes, I used the term block, but I used it a different way. I will link that English lesson at the end of this one. But here, block is a verb, and it means to stop something from happening. My boss had to block my new project because it was too expensive. Another term we use with the American government is Congress. Congress has two parts: the House that we already talked about and the Senate. There are only 100 senators. Congress is the whole group of lawmakers in the U.S. government, including the House and the Senate. Congress must agree on a financial plan before the end of the year. If you want to dive a little deeper into politics, I have a course just for that. It is called the Breaking News Decoder. In that course, you will find 12 lessons. The first one you can preview if you would like. Click on the link in the description or the pinned comments. There is also a QR code right up there. But I do a deep dive on American politics. Also, how to talk about crime in English. You can also join our community. Maybe you will find a speaking partner there, quizzes and homework, just like you are in a real class, and so much more. Hope to see you there. Okay, now back to the English lesson. War powers resolution. We've already talked about resolution. Let's talk about what the war powers resolution is. It is a U.S. law that stops the president from starting a war without permission from Congress. This picture goes back about 100 years during World War I, President Wilson followed the War Powers Resolution before sending soldiers abroad. And in that sentence, sending soldiers abroad, it means like sending them to a different country, or in the case of World War I, a different continent. US soldiers went to Europe. You probably know rain. It's raining outside right now where I live. But notice the way rain is spelled here. This is an English phrasal verb, and it means to control or limit something that is getting too big or spending too much. So Congress felt like they had to rein in President Trump's power. They thought he was getting a little too powerful. Here's a sentence. We need to rein in our shopping bills this month to save money. And that word rein comes from like horses and cowboys. Anyone who rides a horse holds on to the reins. Let's get another sentence. A skilled cowboy knows how to rein in a spirited horse.
Of course, this is now stretched for some 90 days, and tensions and frustrations are starting to wear thin here on Capitol Hill. We, of course, have seen both the House and Senate make many attempts to try to pass these war powers resolutions to try to block further military action in Iran. In most instances, they have been unsuccessful. So this is really the first time we have seen the House successfully pass this type of resolution. A short time ago, we saw a statement from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Another English phrasal verb, stretched into. We use this when something lasts a little longer than we thought it would. Let's get the official definition. Lasted much longer than you expected. The baseball game was tied for so long that it stretched in to the next day. This happens quite a bit with baseball. Now that there's a clock that makes the pitcher pitch a little more quickly, it doesn't happen as often, but maybe 20 years ago when I was watching my favorite team, the Boston Red Sox, and they would play the Yankees, those games would last 4 or 5 hours. They might start at 7 p.m., but they might not get over until about 1 a.m. So they would stretch in to the next day. Frustrations. I'm sure you have some frustrations when you are studying your English. Let's talk about what frustrations are. Feelings of anger or annoyance when things do not go your way. Learning English is very difficult. Here's a sentence. Traffic jams after work are one of my biggest daily frustrations. Oh my goodness. My wife's patience often wear thin. When I am around her too much, I sometimes annoy her. Let's talk about what it means to wear thin. When your patience or energy is almost gone because a problem keeps happening, I am usually the problem with my wife. Let's get the sentence. The kids keep fighting, and my patience is starting to wear thin. Like if it lasts too much longer, you will probably get mad. More politics here. House Minority Leader. So think of the House. There are over 400 people, politicians, in the House of Representatives, and they have a couple leaders. One is called the House Minority Leader, the boss of the political party that has fewer members in the House of Representatives. So we have two major political parties in the United States, Republicans and Democrats. Right now, Republicans have more members. So their leader is called the House Majority Leader. The Democrats have fewer members. Their leader is the House Minority Leader, and we will talk about who that is in just a minute. But let's get a sentence first. The House Minority Leader spoke on TV about helping older citizens. Now, this guy, Hakeem Jeffries, he is the House Minority Leader right now. Hakeem Jeffries was born in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, that's like a neighborhood of New York City. There are 5 neighborhoods in New York City. We call them boroughs. But let's get the definition for Hakeem Jeffries, the rest of it. Hakeem Jeffries was born in Brooklyn, New York on August 4th, 1970. As of June 4th, 2026, he is 55 years old. And that is when I made this English lesson. Here's a sentence that talks about Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries works as a government leader in Washington, D.C.
A short time ago, we saw a statement from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who said this was an attempt to stand up for the American people. Obviously, we know that public opinion has varied with respect to the war in Iran, particularly the impact on gas prices here at home. So this is part of why we saw Democrats try to force this issue. And we did see at least 4 Republicans cross over in support with Democrats. This resolution ultimately passing 215 to 208 this evening. Lindsay.
Also on Capitol Hill today, Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen faced criticism over removing Customs and Border agents from airports last week, but now he's doubling down.
Yeah, that's right. You know, this is something that was one of many flashpoints during today's hearing. Obviously, the secretary was here on Capitol Hill yesterday as well, but he did say that it was possible that the agency would consider removing customs agents from airports in sanctuary cities.
We have another English phrasal verb here, to stand up for something. What does that mean? To support or defend someone or something when they need help. So take a look at the picture. We have a girl. She looks sad. She is sitting on a bench, but it looks like a friend is coming up to her, maybe to try to talk with her. Parents should teach their children to stand up for classmates who are lonely. I hope this English lesson is having an impact on your English learning. Let's talk about what impact means. A strong effect or change on a situation, action, or person. This could be for the good or it could be for the bad. I hope this lesson is having a good impact on your English. Let's get a sentence. Watching movies in English has a big impact on my listening skills. This next one, to cross over the line. You might also hear cross over the aisle, and we will talk about a couple different aisles in a minute. But cross over the line, we are talking about the political line here, like Democrats working with Republicans and vice versa. Let's get the definition. To work with or reach an agreement with people from a different political party or viewpoint. Even though they have different beliefs, the 2 senators were able to cross the aisle or cross over the line to pass the new law. So we have 2 types of aisles in English. Take a look at that beautiful one on the left. It is basically short for island. Let me make that bigger. A small island in the sea or river, a natural piece of land. Here's the sentence. We went on a vacation to a small isle in the ocean. But the other one, like at the grocery store there, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the political aisle. It's like a space, maybe an imaginary space that divides the 2 political parties. Let's talk about what an aisle is, just in case you don't know what it is. A long, narrow space between rows of seats or shelves. Please walk down the aisle to find the cereal, and we might call that the cereal aisle. In the newscast, they talked about the Homeland Security Secretary. Pretty hard to say, quite a mouthful, but they are the top government boss who protects the country's safety, borders, and airports. The Homeland Security Secretary visited the airport to check safety rules. And this position was invented after 9/11, way back in 2001. They mentioned customs and border agents. If you enter the United States from any other country, you will meet a customs and border agent. They are government workers who check passports, documentation, and bags at airports or national borders. The customs and border agents looked at our passports after our vacation. This term has become very popular over the last 10 years to double down on something. It means doing something even harder or refusing to change your mind, even if it is risky or difficult. He is losing money, but he is doubling down on his new business plan. Maybe if you work really hard at your English learning, maybe you are spending 30 minutes a night learning English. But if you double down on it, you would spend more time. You get more serious about it. Maybe you start spending about an hour learning English each night. Next, we have flashpoints. These are topics, issues, or places where arguments or trouble can start very quickly. Think about money issues with married couples. Money and chores can become major flashpoints for busy couples. There are some sanctuary cities in the United States. What is a sanctuary city? These are cities with local rules that protect immigrants who do not have official immigration papers. In sanctuary cities, all parents can send their kids to school safely. Boom, you made it to the end of another difficult English lesson. But maybe you're doubling down. You don't want to stop learning English. Right down there is that English lesson I talked about. People crawling into manholes in New York City. Don't forget, if you would like to dive deeper with your English and the news, there is a link to my new course right down in the comments, or you can scan the QR code. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Welcome to this English lesson about how to talk to Americans about graduation. We have two types of graduation in the United States, high school and college, at least the major ones. Some of the younger students have graduation too, but it's not the same. We will be talking about high school and college graduation. Most of the terms we talk about today, you can use for both. Let's do it. The first one, or the first section, we are going to talk about mostly the people. And this first one is tricky because we have the same word, the same spelling, two different pronunciations. Let's talk about it. For each of these terms, I will have the definition, I will use it in a sentence, and I will have a picture that will help you understand. So let's first talk about the noun. That is the person who has graduated. Graduated is the verb, but they are a graduate. They are a graduate. So somebody who graduates from high school or college, they are a graduate. Graduate is the verb. Graduate is the noun. Why do we do this in English? I don't know. Sometimes when you are learning English and you want to know the reason why, you just have to shrug. I just shrugged. I don't know. We do some crazy things. So let's talk about the verb. I have used it already. It's just the act of finishing a school. So it might be a college, university, or high school. Here's the sentence, and I will use both terms, the noun and the verb. My daughter is a high school graduate this year, and I am so proud to see her graduate. English, right? One spelling, two different pronunciations. I earlier used college and university. At least in the United States, those terms mean pretty much the same thing. There's a slight difference, but when you hear Americans talk about college, university, they use them pretty much interchangeably. Senior is next. That is the last year of high school or college. Here's the official definition: a student in their fourth and final year of high school or college. In the United States, seniors spend their final year preparing for university or jobs. We have 4 different terms we use for each of the levels of high school. If you want to know them, the first year, they're called freshmen. The second year, they are called sophomores. The third year, juniors, seniors for the fourth year. Fourth and final year, sometimes. What about the commencement speaker? This can be a little tough because commence means to begin. But when we are talking about graduation, that is the end of schooling. So the commencement speaker is at most graduations, and they are a special person. Could be a famous person, could be someone from the community, like a leader who gives an exciting speech at graduation. So these commencement speakers are supposed to give life lessons for the graduates. Like, hey, life is going to be hard, but if you keep working hard, you will succeed. Something like that. I have never been a commencement speaker. I don't think I want to. But my son just graduated from high school a couple weeks ago, gave me the idea for this English lesson. Also, the high school I teach at graduated last weekend. So both of those graduations, they had commencement speakers. At my son's, he was like an actor. He played some roles on television. Let's get the sentence for commencement speaker. The commencement speaker gave a wonderful speech about working hard and never giving up on our dreams. Next, we have valedictorian. Maybe I will say this a couple times. Valedictorian, valedictorian, salutatorian. We'll talk about them next. Let's talk about who the valedictorian is officially. They are the student with the highest grades in the entire class who gives the final farewell speech. The valedictorian studied very hard for 4 years to get the best grades in school. The person with the second best grades, we call them the salutatorian. The salutatorian. Here's the definition. The student with the second highest grades in the class who gives the opening welcome speech. Now, I've been to quite a few graduations. I haven't always seen the salutatorian give a speech. I've always seen the valedictorian give a speech, but not always the salutatorian. Here's a sentence that uses salutatorian. The salutatorian welcomed all the parents and teachers at the beginning of the ceremony. Next, we have the principal. The principal. We have a couple different spellings for principal, but we will only talk about this one as it relates to a school. They're like the boss of the high school. You do not have principals in college. We might call them deans. But the principal or the president of the college. But the principal at a high school is the main person in charge, like the school's leader or manager. The principal shook hands with every student and gave them their diplomas. We will talk about diploma a little later. Maybe you already know this one. I'm not sure. But diploma, yeah, that's the principal. Next, we have faculty. Faculty. Again, a couple different ways we use faculty in English, but when we talk about the way we use it with schools, this is how we use it. You might also hear staff, and I'll talk about the difference. There is a minor difference, but the faculty of the school is the entire collective group of teachers, professors, and administrative staff. So we're talking teachers, principals, professors would be at a college. Here's a sentence. The school faculty sat together on the stage to celebrate their students' success. Is congratulations, is that spelled correctly in that picture? A lot of people, sometimes including myself, we get congratulations wrong. That's the last slide of this English lesson, but the spelling can sometimes be tricky. All right, faculty, hopefully you know now, but staff is also used for teachers, principals, but it can also be the people that clean the school. We might call them custodians. the people who work in the lunchroom to prepare the meals. So faculty usually means the people with a degree, maybe in education, and staff is everybody. But you will hear staff quite a bit. Okay, here's something very tricky in English, because as you might know, English has been heavily influenced by French and also by Latin, because French is a Romance language. Well, here we have alumnus and alumni. Alumnus is the singular. It's a person. We'll talk about who they are in a minute. Alumni is the collective group, many people. So let's talk about who an alumnus might be and who the alumni are. Alumnus, a person, singular. Alumnus, or people, plural. Alumni who have graduated from a specific school. So in the picture, that is the University of Alabama. So I am an alumnus of the University of Alabama. I'm one person. My wife, Jamie, shout out to her. She also graduated from the University of Alabama. So we are alumni from the University of Alabama. Once you receive your certificate, you are no longer a student. You are an alumni of the school, or you are an alumnus of the school. Julia, I like what you said. Please go ahead, hit that like button. So let's talk about some of the things graduates, part of the faculty, might wear at the graduation ceremony. So the first is the cap and gown. The cap and gown. And it might be difficult for some students to afford, at least at my high school, afford buying their cap and gown. It's about $50. They get to keep it, but that's a lot of money. But you need a cap and gown if you want to participate in the graduation. At my school, we find a way to get them their cap and gown if they can't afford it. So just because they don't have the $50 doesn't mean they aren't going to walk. We'll talk about that term in a minute. But cap and gown, that is the traditional large ceremonial robe and matching square hat. You might hear the motorboard, but we don't say that too much. Worn over clothes during the ceremony. So all their students, right? All those students in the picture are wearing a cap and gown. I also see some honor cords, some diplomas, and some stoles. We'll talk about those terms in a minute. But yes, they have on the hat. That's the cap. And that long blue dress thing is the gown. The students looked very formal in their blue caps and gowns. Next, we have the tassel. And there is a ceremony. There's like a thing you do with the tassel. All the graduates do at the same time. But let's talk about the tassel first. So on that student's cap is something hanging off. And that something hanging off, we call the tassel. The beautiful bundle of loose hanging threads securely attached to the top button of the graduate hat. Before the ceremony starts, the tassel hangs on the right side of your hat. And moving the tassel is something that is done towards the end of the ceremony to signify that the students have graduated. The symbolic and celebratory action of moving the tassel from the right to the left side to mark the official transition to graduate. Once they do that, they are now part of the alumni. And I never remember which side you have to move your tassel to. Don't worry. You'll see other people. They'll talk about it. What did they say? It's on the left and you move to the right. Something like that. 50-50 chance. But I've been a graduate at 2 graduation ceremonies, and I got it right both times. I think they told us before. Let's read the sentence that has moving the tassel in it. After the principal called their names, the students celebrated by moving the tassel to the left. The honor cord, stole, sash. Okay, we have 2 more for this part. We have a few more. But the honor cord, this is to let everybody know, hey, I am super smart. And you do not have to buy this. At least at my high school, they will provide it to you. They will give it to you for free. So let's talk about what the honor cord is. A decorative colored rope worn around the neck to signify a student's high grades, academic honors, or club memberships. So at my school, we have this club, National Honor Society, it is called. Students have an inauguration for that. There's a whole ceremony, but it is a club designed for students who always get high grades. Sometimes your junior year, you are accepted into National Honor Society. Sometimes your senior year. But if you are, you get to wear a cord at graduation, letting everybody know how smart you are. Here is a sentence that uses honor cord. He wore a gold honor cord because he received an A in all his math classes. Now we also have a stole or a sash. Wait a second. What is that flag there? I don't know. Somebody please let me know in the comments. At the beginning of this lesson, we had somebody from this country. So if anybody knows what that flag is, stole or sash, let's talk about what they mean. And those terms are used interchangeably. A wide piece of colored cloth draped over the shoulders, representing cultural heritage, like that one is, sports or organizations or clubs. Many international students wear a stole that shows the colors of their home country's flag. This year at my school, we had some exchange students. Those are students who spend 1 year at a school. In my case, it was the United States, my school's case. And then they go back home to their home country. They're just visiting for a year. We had a student from Bolivia and we had a student from Germany. Yeah, just those 2 this year. And they wore stoles of their home country's flag. All right. I haven't seen anybody say the country of Venezuela. Venezuela. So this student must be an exchange student from Venezuela. All right. So now let's talk about the ceremony itself. Commencement. You might hear that. You might also hear graduation. Commencement is a little bit more formal, but the formal name for the graduation ceremony, symbolizing a beginning of a new stage in life. So even though you're ending your high school or college, it's like you're starting a new chapter in your life, we might say. Commencement. We bought 5 tickets so our family could watch the commencement on Saturday. Now at my school, you do not have to buy tickets, but what makes it tricky is that students only get 7 tickets. Each senior gets 7 tickets. So if they have a large family, grandparents, parents, siblings, not everybody can go. And last weekend, it was raining. So the ceremony had to be moved inside. That meant the students only got 3 tickets. I don't know about this term. You don't hear this too often. Maybe the graduates will talk about the processional because they need to practice this. At my school, they practice about 5 times. They practice the processional about 5 times, but most people attending the ceremony will not talk about this. But the processional is the slow, formal line of walking graduating students into the room or stadium at the start of the ceremony. So you can see some parents and maybe some grandparents taking pictures of the processional. That is when the students are walking in at the beginning of the ceremony. During the processional, parents stood up to take photos of their children walking into the room. Next, we have pomp and circumstance. This is oftentimes where I get a little emotional during the ceremony, because as the students are walking in, there is a song that is playing, and it's called Pomp and Circumstance. And just about every graduation you go to in the United States will have that song playing. Gets me a little emotional. So let's talk about this song. The famous, iconic, traditional marching song composed by Edward Elgar, played as graduates enter the hall. Every time I hear the song Pomp and Circumstance, I think about graduation. Yeah, that is true for me. There is usually a stage. This is probably a pretty easy term. Students will walk across the stage. Yes, we will talk about walk. It is a special verb when we talk about graduation, but the stage, maybe an easy one for you, right? The prominent raised platform in the ceremony hall where graduates walk up to receive their diplomas. The students were nervous, but excited to walk across the stage in front of the audience. It is often very tricky for graduates and usually the principal who is handing out diplomas, because you have to shake hands and at the same time hand them their diploma, or students have to receive their diploma. Bob the Canadian also teaches at a high school. I'm sure his students, I think he has one more week left, but at my school, seniors get to leave early, about 2 weeks earlier than everybody else. My school ends this Friday. Seniors have been gone. I think they've been gone for 2 weeks. So maybe they get out like earlier, like 3 weeks earlier, I think. Okay, the walk. Now I know you know the verb to walk, but when we talk about graduation, it's a little bit more special. So you might hear students ask, are you going to be able to walk this year? That means their grades are good enough to get on the stage for the ceremony with everyone else. So let's get the official definition for walking during graduation. It simply means to participate in the graduation ceremony. So I had some students when I graduated high school back in 1994, many years ago. Their grades were not good enough to walk with the rest of us. They had to go to summer school and they received their diploma probably in the principal's office. There was no ceremony with that. Let's read a sentence that has walk, the special walk in it. Some students complete their classes online, but they still want to walk in the summer ceremony. We do at my school, we do have some students who take online classes or are homeschooled. They go to school at home and they get to walk with everyone else as long as their grades are good enough. Diploma, this might be review. I have mentioned it many times. The official paper showing a student finished all classes for graduation. I framed my diploma so that student, you can see on their wall, it's framed. I framed my diploma and hung it on the wall in my living room. My diploma, both of them, are in a closet somewhere. Cap toss. There were a few years where schools said, hey, we're not doing the cap toss. But this year at my school, students did toss their caps. I think they had permission. Cap toss, the end of the ceremony when all new graduates throw their hats in the air to celebrate. It can be a little dangerous though, because the caps have those 4 sharp corners. So you can see, especially the student in the middle, I mean, she is looking right up. That cap, if it hits her eye, that is going to be a bad night. She will not be going to project graduation. We'll talk about project graduation a little later. Here's a sentence. The best part of the night was the cap toss because everyone cheered and laughed. So after you turn the tassel, you move it, there might be a few more words said, like you are now officially graduates, and that's when the students will toss their caps into the air. Okay? Quick commercial break. I need to talk about the course I am offering. Ooh, we can actually preview it too. There is a QR code. If you're watching on a TV, you can take a picture. It will send you to this link. I had it right here, I think. Oh, I have to remove this. There we go. Okay, so if you sign up for the course, it is $29. You will get all of these lessons. We talk about headlines. We talk about elections, disasters and emergencies in the news. Each video is less than 10 minutes. I tried to keep it short. There's also the money section, crime. Oh, and this is the hardest module right here. All about politics. There's a bonus lesson down there. But if you want, you can go to the course. There's a link in the description, and you can preview like this. Make sure I'm sharing here. Oh, yeah. So there, you can take everything you want right there. You can watch the video. I don't think the sound is on, but you can watch the video, go back to it as many times as you want. You can download the cheat sheet that has, I just downloaded. I don't think you can see it, but it has a lot of information about what I cover in the lesson. And there is the quiz. I took the quiz. I scored a 4 out of 5. And why did I do that? I wanted to see what would happen if you made a mistake. So I think I could have gotten a 5 out of 5, but I wanted to see what would happen if I made a mistake. And QR code, link in the description, $29. I'm also offering private one-on-one chats this summer. There's a link down there as well. All right. Commercial over. Let's get back to the English learning. So let's talk about some of the grades, the achievements, the honors, GPA. This is a big thing when you're talking about honors, when you're talking about top 10. GPA, it is an acronym, meaning the G stands for a word, the P stands for a word. GPA, grade point average, the total average of a student's number of grades. Usually scored 0 to 4.0. So if you have a 4.0 in high school, that means you got nothing but A's. At my school, you can actually get higher than a 4.0. And I should brag, my daughter had more than a 4.0 at her high school. She went to my high school. And if you take honors courses, also something called AP courses, like advanced placement courses, those are courses you can actually get college credit for in high school. Your GPA could actually be higher than a 4.0 at some schools. So let's talk about the sentence here. She maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA during all 4 years of high school. Kind of crazy, kind of impossible to do, but many students do it. And they probably would get a honor cord if they had a perfect 4.0. What about a class rank here? At my school, we have the top 10. We have like a special lunch for them. It's a really good time. The 10 highest grades, the students who got the 10 highest GPAs in their class for their senior year. I think at my school, there are about 300 students in each class. And yes, they are all ranked. So number one, you remember? They're called the valedictorian. Then we have the top 10. They get special stoles to wear, honor cords, class rank. This is a special math rank. It compares one student's grades with all the others in their group. With his high grades, his class rank was number 5 out of 300 students. Looks like his mom, she's very happy. What, did he graduate the did he graduate the class of 2024 from where? Lincoln High School? Number 5. Pretty special. Must be a very smart man. What about the honor roll? This can be a little tricky here. Honor roll. Let's get the definition, and then we will talk about how some of these things are calculated. Hey, you know what? I don't see the chat anymore. Hopefully we're still live. Okay. I'm hoping we are. Hey, Celia says, amazing course, Brent. Thank you so much. All right, the honor roll. So this can happen pretty much any grade in school, like first grade, second grade. They can make the honor roll, and they put the names of the students in the local newspaper. I'm not sure anyone reads a newspaper anymore, but the honor roll, it is the official list of students who got good grades during the school term. We'll talk about the different terms at an American school in a minute. But this could be all A's. We might say high honors, and honors would be all A's and B's, all A's and B's. Here is the sentence. The parents were very happy when their son's name was put on the school honor roll. Look at that. Big smiles on their faces. I don't know what they are doing at school. Maybe they're there for parent-teacher conferences. I have those at my school every year, twice a year, in fact. So let's talk about when you could make the honor roll. And each school does it a little differently. I've taught at maybe 3 or 4 schools, maybe 5 schools, different grade levels. You might get grades every quarter. You might get them every trimester, or you might get them once a semester. At my school, we have honor roll twice a year for each semester. So let's talk about what the different parts are. Let me remove myself. Look at quarter. It's just like if you come to the United States and you have a quarter, 4 quarters make $1. So there are 4 different grading periods. So if your school releases grades each quarter of the year, you could make the honor roll 4 times. But some students, when they go to school, they will get grades every trimester. So T-R-I, that almost always means 3. And you can see in the picture, there is a fall grading term, a winter grading term, and a spring grading term. That would be a trimester. Semesters are twice a year. So at my school, we release grades twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring, each semester. A lot of high schools do that because for my class, I teach English. Students need to be in my class the entire year. If they fail one semester, they would only have to make up one semester in summer school or the next year, maybe. So semester, trimester, and quarter.
graduating with honors. This might not be too bad. We've talked about honor rolls and honor cords before, but graduating with honors is an award given to students who got excellent grades for all 4 years of school. She received a special certificate for graduating with honors. So she also received a diploma for graduating, and then she received a certificate telling everybody she graduated with honors. Next, we have the class ring. Some students will purchase a class ring. They are expensive. Did I say expensive? They are expensive. They are expensive. So my 2 children did not get a class ring. I did not buy a class ring when I was in high school. I think they are like $600 or $700, something like that. Let's talk about the class ring. It's pretty much what it sounds like. A personal piece of jewelry to remember the graduation. It has the graduation year and the school logo. He bought a class ring with the year 2026 engraved on it to remember his time at school. So I don't have my class ring, but I do have a yearbook, which we will talk about soon, not next. These are some kind of fun things that happen around graduation. First, I should probably take a drink of water. I've been talking for 45 minutes. Yeah, don't forget, at the end of this English lesson, Bob the Canadian will be going live as well. I can probably link. Oh, yeah, I can easily link to his lesson so you can follow him after I'm done here. Senior prank. This happens every year at my school. Sometimes they are pretty bad, and most of the time they're not too bad. But a senior prank is a joke that the oldest students do. It is not bad. It's fun. They do this to the school or teachers before they finish school. For their senior prank, the students filled the principal's office with balloons. So I don't know what this year's students did as a prank. They must have been so small that I didn't notice it. Last year, though, for the senior prank, all of the seniors slept in our school's parking lot. There were tents set up. Somebody brought in an RV. And when I arrived in the morning, what is going on here? So the students were camping out in the parking lot of the school. Kind of crazy. I love this one. Maybe my favorite term of the lesson, senioritis. What happens if a student gets senioritis? Only seniors can get senioritis. A funny, casual term for the lazy or unmotivated feeling students have in their final months of school. Now, senioritis happens only to seniors. But I also teach juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. By now, all of them have some sort of itis. Yeah. A lot of students are kind of unmotivated. But next week, we have finals. So big tests for the students. They need to get a little more motivated next week. After spring break, many seniors experience senioritis as their last year of high school nears its end. A lot of times after spring break, students will get a little lazy. The yearbook is next. I have yearbook from my high school. My wife does, and both of my kids do. So we did each buy yearbooks at our school. This year, the yearbook at my high school costs $65, I think. You might get a discount if you buy it earlier in the year. But a yearbook is a big yearly book with photos of all students, teachers, and fun times. The sports teams will be in the yearbook. pictures of everyone who was an athlete on that team. Most of the clubs at my school will get their picture in the yearbook. We have a French club, we have a Latin club, Spanish club, math team, lots of different clubs at my school. I love looking at my old yearbook to see pictures of my classmates from 20 years ago. Jeez. For me, it's 32 years ago. Goodness gracious. Are you ready to learn some English? Because I'm ready to teach some English. I'm just finishing up my day here in the classroom and saw a news story that I thought would help you learn English. You know how President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu started this war with Iran together? Well, yesterday they had a phone call, and now it seems like they are not exactly on the same page. If two people are on the same page, in English, that means they are thinking alike. They are doing the same thing. During that phone call, President Trump said some pretty bad things about Netanyahu. Let's watch a news clip together. They are going to use some difficult vocabulary. Don't worry. That's where I come in. I will teach you how to use that difficult vocabulary in English.
President Trump telling ABC that a deal with Iran could happen over the next week. The president writing on Truth Social, quote, talks are continuing at a rapid pace with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And President Trump speaking to ABC about getting Israel and Hezbollah to agree to a ceasefire, saying, quote, there was a little glitch today, but I turned that one around very quickly. I spoke with Hezbollah and I said no shooting, and I talked to Bibi and said no shooting, and they both stopped shooting each other.
You just saw some of the news clip. They use some difficult words. I am going to put on my glasses because I'm not going to be able to see anything without them. And let's get started. About 23, 24 new terms for you, terms you might see on the IELTS or TOEFL exam. The first one is rapid. And you know how in English we love to have 50 different words for the same meaning? Well, rapid pretty much just means fast. Here is the official definition. Very fast or quick. The company experienced rapid growth after opening its new online store. So it grew very quickly. How about another one? And this has something to do with learning English, something I know you are trying to do, trying to get better at. Here we go. Rapidly. And in this sentence, it's used as an adverb. It is impossible to learn English rapidly. It takes many years of hard work. Please let me know in the comments, how many years have you been studying English? We are going to talk about 3 different organizations, and they all have something to do with Iran, or at least a lot of people think they are being funded by Iran, like Iran is giving them money. And the first one is Hezbollah. Let's talk about who or what Hezbollah is. It is a political and military group based in Lebanon. The news report discussed the latest political decisions made by Hezbollah. And maybe I should move where I'm recording this, because right next door, people are being kind of loud. There are still classes going on in school right now. Yeah, let's move over to one of these desks. It will probably be a little quieter. All right, here we go. This is what it looks like. Some people say Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran. We'll talk about what proxy means in just a little bit. They also said glitch. Actually, I think President Trump said there was a little glitch when he was talking or negotiating with Netanyahu. Let's talk about what a glitch means in English. A small temporary problem. If something is temporary, it doesn't last for a long time. Permanent means it lasts for a long time. A small temporary problem or mistake in a computer program, system, or machine. A technical glitch caused the website to stop working for 15 minutes this morning.
Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, joins me now. We're going to get to the glitch, as President Trump characterizes it, in a second. But I'm trying to view this back and forth, delay, no delay, ceasefire, through the lens of the American person watching right now, drinking their coffee. And it seems like we have a start, we have a stop, we have a start, we have a stop. So what do you want the American public to think when it comes to the constant promise that we're going to have a ceasefire, we're going to end this war, and then just a delay, mostly on the part of Iran?
Delay. You can have this quite a bit when you're traveling. You can have this quite a bit pretty much with anything in life. That is a period of time when you must wait because something is late or happening slower than planned. Our train had a 1-hour delay because of the heavy rain. They used the idiom through the lens of, maybe first we should talk about what a lens is. A lens is a curved piece of glass or plastic that makes things look clearer, bigger, or smaller. And this sentence sounds British to me. The spectacles have special lenses that help me read small words. Yep. In the picture, that man is wearing spectacles, but in the United States, we might call them glasses. So my glasses have 2 lenses. But what does it mean to see something through the lens of something else? I have a definition for you. Looking at or thinking about a situation from a specific point of view or perspective. It kind of means change the way you are thinking about something. Try to see it in a way that other people see it. Here's a sentence. When I design English lessons, I try to see it through the lens of an English learner. This might be review. We have talked about ceasefires quite a bit on this channel. A ceasefire is an agreement between 2 fighting sides to stop shooting or fighting, usually for a specific amount of time. And I think this latest ceasefire between the United States and Iran is supposed to last for about 60 days. But that other country that we are fighting with, I guess, or at least the American government is fighting with, they often break that ceasefire and they attack Lebanon. Sometimes YouTube doesn't like it when I say the name of that country. Here's a sentence that uses ceasefire. Both countries agreed to a temporary ceasefire to allow medical help to enter the city. And that actually looks like possibly, maybe Myanmar. I know there are some people who watch this channel from Myanmar, and the building in the picture looks like it could be in Myanmar.
Todd, it's good to be with you. And what I would say on the Iran-U.S. conflict is, we will defend our interests. Obviously, the president is the negotiator in chief. He has negotiated an agreement that is, that he wants, and he's focused on the final details to make sure that among the most important things that Iran doesn't ever have a nuclear weapon. But, time and leverage are on the United States side. And I don't think that there should be any hurry right now to get the best deal in the interests of the United States and therefore the American people. And President Trump knows exactly what he wants, and he knows that he has everything on his side to make sure that he gets it. I mean, we have, a blockade right now in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is on their back foot.
Negotiator in chief. Our president is often called the commander in chief because he, or maybe one day she, will be like the leader or the boss of our military. But in the newscast, they called Trump the negotiator in chief. Let's talk about what that means. The main leader who is responsible for making deals, peace agreements, or business compromises between groups. Here's the sentence. As the president of the union, she acts as the negotiator in chief during the contract talks. So if somebody is negotiating something, they are talking with another person to try to make a deal happen. If you're making a deal with someone, it's good to have leverage. What does leverage mean? Power, control, or an advantage that helps you get what you want when making a deal or negotiating. Having another job offer gave him the leverage to ask for a better salary. How about when parents and children are making a deal? Parents should have the leverage. For example, if a kid messes up, does something wrong, the parents can take away their phone. That is leverage that parents have. They probably own the phone. They probably bought the phone. I know we've talked about blockade before. Maybe this is review. If this is your first time here, welcome. Oh, by the way, don't forget, like, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers this year. A blockade is the action of surrounding a place with ships or soldiers to stop people or goods from entering or leaving. And unfortunately, for the people of Cuba, the United States has had a blockade on Cuba for quite a while. The United States government doesn't let many goods, and not gasoline right now, enter Cuba. The government set up a blockade to stop illegal ships from coming into the harbor. We have another idiom. What if somebody is on their back foot? They are in a weak position or forced to defend yourself because of a sudden problem or attack. The unexpected questions from the reporter left the movie star on his back foot. And I know in the picture, it looks like the movie star is kind of on his back foot, or maybe actually his front foot. But remember, this is an idiom and it has nothing to do with feet.
Their military's been decimated. Their navy's at the bottom of the Gulf. And so there is just so much right now that the United States is holding all the cards. Right. And President Trump is going to make sure that if a deal is done, that it is a sustainable deal in the interest of America.
Sustainable is the key phrase there. You also mentioned the word leverage, and I want to highlight some reporting from Axios about a potentially tense conversation between Trump and Netanyahu. Quote, summarizing Trump's remarks to Netanyahu, the U.S. official said, "You're bleeping crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your bleeping. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." A second source briefed on the call said Trump was, I'm going to say this, pissed.
What if something is decimated? It's basically another way to say totally destroyed, but let's read the official definition. Seriously damaged, destroyed, or greatly reduced in number. The economic crisis decimated many small family businesses in the area, and that has been happening where I live pretty much since 2020. A lot of small businesses in town are closing because of money problems. I know we have talked about this idiom before, hold the cards. Who holds the cards? It's another way to say they have all the leverage. But let's get the official definition. It means to be in control of a situation because you have all the advantages, you have the leverage. In this job market, the employer holds the cards because there are so many applicants. To be honest, this is a little bit of a swear word. It's mild, but pissed is another way to say very angry or annoyed. Look at the note. It's casual and can be considered slightly rude in formal settings. He was really pissed when the airline lost his luggage for the second time. And if you look at that man's face, he definitely looks pissed. I think in British English, pissed can also be slang for someone being drunk, having too much alcohol.
And at one point, yelled at Netanyahu, "What the bleep are you doing?" Less on the back and forth between Netanyahu and Trump, because let's face it, they're one of our greatest allies. That relationship is strong. But how can the Trump administration prevent Iran from using the issue of Lebanon and Israel's involvement with Lebanon as leverage against us? How does the Trump administration do that?
Well, obviously, we want the entire region of the Middle East, whether it's Lebanon, whether it is Iran, whether it is, the government in Iraq or Syria or anywhere in that region. We want peace to break out across the region.
Obviously, native English speakers use this word all the time. obviously, and it is used to say something is very clear, easy to see, or easy to understand. Obviously, we need to save money if we want to take an international vacation this year. And it looks like they are planning a trip to Peru. Hey, just like me. Also, if you want to take your English to the next level, I am offering a course to help you read, speak, and listen to the news in English a lot better. With my new course, you will get 12 lessons, good for about one every other day. A whole month's worth of classes. Each class has study guides to help you learn the material. There is a video for each lesson. There are exercises so you can practice, and there are quizzes so you can test yourself. I check the comments every week in case somebody has a question. I answer it as quickly as possible. You'll also be able to join our community where you might find a speaking partner. All of that can be yours for $29, and there are even plans where you can split that payment up into 4 payments. Right up there is a QR code, and there is also a link in the comments and the description. Hope to see you there soon. Obviously, learning English is tough, and I am here to help you. I used the term proxy before. We talked about one of Iran's proxies already. We will talk about 2 more later, but a proxy is a person or a group that acts or fights on behalf of someone else, particularly in geopolitical conflict contexts. In other words, a lot of people believe Hezbollah in Lebanon is getting a lot of money from Iran, and Hezbollah is using that money to fight the country that's right next to them. The country I probably shouldn't say, but Netanyahu is the prime minister of that country. Here's a sentence that uses proxy. Instead of fighting directly, the 2 large nations used smaller regional groups as a proxy. Sustainable. Sustainable, that means able to continue for a long time at the same level without causing damage. Working 14 hours a day is not a sustainable lifestyle for anyone. Yeah, if you study English for like 10 hours a day, that is not sustainable. You will eventually get pretty tired, maybe even burnt out. If you are burnt out, that means you don't want to study English anymore. Summarizing. It would be nice if I could summarize this English lesson. If it's like 20 minutes long, if I summarized it, I would say all of the things that were in this English lesson in about 2 minutes. But that's really hard to do. Here's the official definition. Expressing the main point of a long text, speech, or meeting in a short, clear way. At the end of the presentation, he spent 2 minutes summarizing the main ideas. We often talk about war breaking out somewhere, but in the newscast, they talked about peace breaking out. I like the sounds of that a lot better. That means used when peace suddenly starts, often when people have been waiting a long time for a conflict to end. After decades of tension, citizens in the region are finally waiting for peace to break out. Hopefully one day soon, peace will break out between Ukraine and Russia, Iran and the United States. That would be such good news.
And all of it's related because Hezbollah is a proxy group for Iran. Hamas is a proxy group for Iran. The Houthis are a proxy group for Iran. And so, Iran's hand is in all of these conflicts and they are related.
Let's talk about 2 more proxies for Iran. Hamas and the Houthis. The Houthis are first. They are a political and military group based in Yemen. Global shipping routes changed because of recent attacks by the Houthis in the Red Sea. Hamas, they are in Palestine, a Palestinian political and military group that governs the Gaza Strip. International leaders met to discuss the ongoing conflict involving Hamas. In the newscast, they used another idiom, something like they have their hands all over it or they have their hand in it. It really has nothing to do with hands. It means to be involved in something, often secretly or indirectly, controlling what happens. Did you have a hand in making this delicious dinner? Like, that looks like a couple there. Maybe one of their children actually made the meal, but then one of the parents helped make the meal. It's another way to say they would have their hands in the meal. It can be a little difficult, so let's look at it in a different way. Nobody knows who broke the window, but Sam had a hand in it. So maybe he didn't actually throw the rock that broke the window, but maybe he found the rock and gave it to someone. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson, but maybe you're not done learning English for the day. Right down there is an English lesson about something weird going on underneath New York City. Don't forget, if you would like to grab my course for $29, there is a QR code right up there. You can find more information about it and even try out lesson 1.1. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Okay, I think we are ready. Welcome to this live lesson about summer. Yeah, for the next 30 to 45 minutes, you will learn maybe 20 to 30 new terms you can use in the summer. And for most of us, it is almost summertime. I know Cecilia is here from Argentina. If you live in South America, it's almost winter. But for the rest of us, summer is coming. Let's get right to it. First, we'll talk about the weather. The first thing I have for you is a scorcher. It is a real scorcher out there. I hope this is new for you. If you want to say it's a hot day, that's fine. Everyone will know what you are talking about. But if you want to sound a little more American, keep your accent. But if you want to sound a little more American or understand what Americans are saying when they say it's a scorcher, now you know it's an extremely hot day. Let's read a sentence. Wow, it's a real scorcher out there today. So make sure to drink plenty of water. Yeah, super important if it is going to be hot because you might get dehydrated. That might be a bonus term, but that is when your body doesn't have enough water. So when it's hot outside, when it's a real scorcher, make sure you drink plenty of water. Next is muggy, sticky. Take a look at that man's shirt. It is sticking to his back. We do need to talk about humidity, which will come up soon. But when it's really, really hot and humid, that means there is a lot of water in the air. We might say it is muggy out or it's super sticky. Here is the official definition. Very hot and humid when the air feels wet and makes you sweat just standing still. When I was in India last July, I promise, you take 2 steps outside. Luckily, my hotel was air conditioned. You are going to be sweaty because it is so muggy. It's hot and the air is wet. It might have what we call water vapor. Let's read the sentence. The weather is so muggy today that my shirt is sticking to my back. Okay, I would like to say hello to a few people who are in the chat. Let's see. Let's go up here. Sandy is here. Welcome, Sandy. Sandy signed up for a private conversation. We have spoken before. She is from Taiwan. And I will be speaking to 3 other people. So a woman from Taiwan, a woman from Germany, a man from Italy, and a woman and her children from Vietnam this week. So my school is ending, so I will start doing private conversations. All right. Is it Vladimir? Odessa, Ukraine is in the house. Mr. Fischieri, at least that's what Bob the Canadian says. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Freddie is here. Freddie is from France, and he says, hello, Brent. Glad to see you. Congratulations for the World Cup soccer game yesterday. That Team USA
won 4-1. We beat Paraguay 4-1. I had to go to bed, but I did watch the game before. I was very happy for Canada. They got their first point in the World Cup ever, tying Bosnia-Herzegovina. And I'm glad, Freddie, you used the American term, football. Well, it's a few more people are here. Welcome. Fernanda is here. She is from Spain. Welcome. Yulia is here. Welcome. From Russia, I believe. Just checking through the chat there. Fabian. Oh, Colombia. Colombia might do pretty well. Okay, let's get back to the English because hang on. Freddie says, Brent, in Boston, the temperature is very high. Yeah, it's very high here. It's very wet and humid. We'll talk about humid in a minute. The soccer games are going to be hard under such a hot temperature. Yeah, Boston, it's in the north, and it's early June. I can't imagine Texas in July. Now, that's hot. Hey, Yemen. Ahmed is back. Yemen. I'm sure it's always hot in Yemen. Welcome. All right. What's the next one? I have no idea. Oh, now I do. Heat wave. Heat wave. If you're living in Yemen, it's probably always hot, so you might not have heat waves. But where I live, if it's more than 90 degrees Fahrenheit for maybe 3-4 days in a row, we can call that a heat wave. It's a period of several days or weeks with unusually hot weather. Let's read a sentence that talks about that heat wave. During the heat wave last week, most people stayed inside with the air conditioning on. And I did make this picture with the help of AI, and I wanted the heat wave to be in India. And it looks like that could be an Indian living room. They also look like they have their windows open, which probably wouldn't happen during the day in India if you have air conditioning. But if it is super hot out, you are going to want to beat the heat in some way. That's what we say in English when it's really hot and you want to try to stay cool somehow. Let's get the official definition. To find a way to stay cool, like going to an air-conditioned room or jumping in a pool. And you can see there is a mall there. A lot of people will go to the mall to beat the heat because it's usually air-conditioned. And you can see the outdoor temperature is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's read the sentence. We went to the shopping mall just to beat the heat because it was too hot at home. Now, I am very fortunate. I'm very lucky that I do have air conditioning in most parts of my house. In my bedroom, in my living room, it might get a little warm in the bathroom, especially after I take a shower, but most of the time it's okay. Boiling, baking. It's another way to say you are very hot. Oh my gosh, I am boiling right now. Or you could say it is boiling outside. How do you feel right now? I'm baking. It is just too hot right now. Let's get the official definition. Casual, exaggerated words that simply mean it's incredibly hot. I am boiling in this heavy sweater. I need to change into a t-shirt. And where I live right now in Maine, the state of Maine, it's very close to Boston, like we mentioned earlier. It might be 40 degrees Fahrenheit in the morning. Fahrenheit, 40 degrees. It's a little chilly. But by the afternoon, it might almost be 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So you might want to wear a sweatshirt or a sweater in the morning. And by the afternoon, you are peeling that off, which is another way to say you are taking it off. You are peeling off that sweater just to have your t-shirt on because it's so hot. Humidity is the amount of water vapor in the air. And if you take a look at those two people, they are just sweating to sit or lie down in the sunshine to get a suntan. Here's the sentence. Let's go to the park this afternoon to lie on the grass and catch some rays. You can see those three people catching some rays. They even have their sunglasses on. I think soon we are going to talk about sunscreen and sunblock. Very important to keep your skin safe. But what if you want to soak up the sun? There's no real difference between catching some rays and soaking up the sun. This is what it means to spend time enjoying the warm sunshine outdoors. If you look at that man, he is definitely reading a book, but he is sleeping in something. Does anybody in the chat know? What is that man sleeping in? I will give you a minute. Yeah, the sentence doesn't say it. I will read the sentence. While I do you know what that man is sleeping in or he's resting in? Please put it in the chat. We spent the whole afternoon at the beach just soaking up the sun. Okay. I haven't seen it in the chat yet. That man is sleeping in, hey, hang on. Let's take a break for a second. Sweden is in the house. Not too many people watch from Sweden because there are so many people that learn English in school and they do it pretty quickly. So Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, not a lot of people watching, but welcome from Sweden. Maybe you were not born in Sweden. Maybe you were born somewhere else and then you moved there later. All right. Hey, in the next English lesson that I release, I recorded the intro this morning. I will be wearing some Ray-Bans. But that man is sleeping in a hammock. Oh, wait. There we go. A few people. There might be a little delay. Okay, Cecilia said hammock. Yes. Also, hammock. Yes. Nice job. Iraq is in the house. Welcome. I have 3 students in my classroom at school. They are from Iraq. They are from Erbil. All right, Turkey's in the house. Okay, Turkey moving to Sweden. I was in Turkey 2 years ago, and I loved it. Would love to go back. Next, we have sunscreen, sunblock. Is there a difference? No. We use both terms interchangeably. Let's get the definition. The lotion you put on your skin to protect yourself from a sunburn. Here's a sentence. Remember to put on sunscreen before you go outside so you do not get a painful sunburn. If anybody saw the English lesson I did from Chichen Itza near Cancun, Mexico, that was last year. I had a bad sunburn on my forehead. I thought I used sunscreen all day, but I guess I did not put enough on. Next, we have a light breeze, which is always welcomed on a hot day. A light breeze is a nice thing to have on a hot day. That is a gentle, cool wind that feels refreshing on a warm day. Refreshing. Do you know what that means? A lot of times when you're hot and you take a shower, you feel refreshed after. Like your body just feels better. So if you are hot and there isn't a lot of air moving, and then you get that light breeze, it can feel very welcomed on your sweaty skin. There is a lovely light breeze today, which keeps us cool while we walk. Next, we have probably my favorite thing. We'll talk about some food here, some food parties you might have during the summer. First up is a cookout or a barbecue. We can use both terms. A cookout. Let's talk about a cookout first. And in the picture, I do have another question for you. What is that thing? They are cooking on something, and it's not a stove. It's not an oven. What is that thing? Let's get the definition. A casual party where food, like burgers and hot dogs, is cooked outside on a grill. Okay. Please let me know what you think they are cooking on in that picture. I did just give you a hint, but there are some amazing English learners. In fact, English teachers. Cecilia is also an English teacher. There's some English teachers in here who I'm sure they know what that is. Maybe you do too. Here is a sentence that uses cookout. Our neighbors are hosting a summer cookout this Saturday, and they invited us over. So those burgers and hot dogs for our Muslim friends, they are all beef, okay? They're all beef. Don't worry about it. No pork. Freddie says, is that a gas grill? Sure does look like one. Yeah, a grill. Nice job. And there is, if you look under the picture, there is what we call a tank. That's a propane tank. And yeah, I think Freddie is perfectly right when he says a gas grill. All right. What's the function of sunscreen? That is to protect your skin from the harmful sun. Great question. Great question. All right. Next, we have barbecue, cookout, barbecue. Pretty much the same way. We do have a few more ways we use barbecue. And you can see BBQ. Most people in the United States do not say, do you want to come over for a BBQ? But you might see it written on maybe an invitation. We talked about invitations last week when we talked about graduation. Here is the definition for a barbecue: an event centered around food cooked slowly over a fire, featuring sweet and smoky sauce. Now, if you look on the table next to that grill, that's a charcoal grill. If you look at that bottle, that's barbecue sauce, we say in English. My uncle makes the best grilled chicken on the barbecue during summer. I don't know about you, but I love a barbecue. I love the taste. My brother does a great job on the grill. I love the taste of his barbecue. Potluck is next. This is great. We are actually having a potluck at my school on Monday. There are some teachers who are retiring. I have 3 colleagues who are retiring. They are in their 60s, 70s. One man who's great, he is 81 and he is retiring. But we are having a potluck. That is when everybody brings a dish to share with everyone else. But don't trust me. Let's get the official definition. A gathering where every guest brings a dish of food to share with the whole group. Now look at this woman. She brought a big bowl of pasta salad. We can talk about pasta salad in a minute. I am bringing a big bowl of pasta salad to the neighborhood potluck tonight, and you can see all of those different dishes. So if like 10 people come to the potluck, you'll have 10 different choices of food to eat. Potato salad, pasta salad. It's pretty much just potato or pasta mixed with mayonnaise. So not the healthiest, right? Hey, Sandy asks, what's the difference between a cookout and a barbecue? Pretty much nothing. You could say, hey, Saturday, I'm having a barbecue. Come over. You could say, hey, Saturday, I'm having a cookout. Come over. Same thing. Now,
barbecue, there's barbecue sauces. Barbecue is used in a few different ways, but barbecue and cookout can be the same thing. Great question. Yeah. Huge bowl of pasta salad. That's huge. I don't know how she's carrying it. I don't know where. Maybe she just lived. Yeah. I think I just explained that, right? I think there's a little delay between the chat and how I'm speaking. But yeah, potato salad, potatoes, mayonnaise, salt, pepper. Some people put more things in there, but yeah, very healthy American food, right? Next, we have a road trip. Americans love road trips. We are the fourth biggest country. We do have pretty good highways, so you could get into your car, drive for a few hours or a few days on a road trip. Here we go. This is what a road trip is. A long vacation or journey taken by driving a car. And it looks like these friends are going on a road trip. They are going from Maine, could be Maine right there, to Florida. Yeah, we have a road. We call it Interstate 95. You can drive from Maine, where I live, which is pretty much near Canada, all the way to the end of Florida, to the tip of Florida. It's called Key West, Florida, and never leave the same road. It's called I-95 or Interstate 95. We got a sentence here, I think, for a road trip. We are planning a fun road trip to drive across the coast with our friends this July. That guy's t-shirt even says East Coast Road Trip 2024, right? 2024. All right. Getaway is next. Getaway. A road trip, it could be a getaway, and a vacation could be a getaway, but it's almost like a mini vacation. Let's get the official definition. A short, quick vacation, usually just for a weekend. We took a quick weekend getaway to a quiet cabin in the mountains to relax. Yeah, I thought. Next, we'll talk about staycation, but I want to check the chat, see what's going on. Cecilia says, you should definitely try Argentinian asado. There was a restaurant in Boston. When my son was younger, we had to go to Boston for hockey games a few times a year. And there was a great Argentinian restaurant that served empanadas. Delicious. I will try that. I have never eaten potato salad. I think that might be an American thing, right? Is that just an American thing? It's not that healthy. What are you going to bring for the potluck? Okay. Monday, I need to bring a dessert. Ooh. Thanks, Heidi, for reminding me. I need to get some dessert. I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to buy it. Sometimes I make it. And my wife and I are down to one car. I'm not sure if you saw the post yesterday. I don't have a car right now. I should have that car back in the middle of the week. But yeah, so I'm going to have to go to the store probably tomorrow, get my dessert. My wife is going to take me to school, and I'm going to walk home. It's about 3.5 miles, which is no big deal. Last weekend, I walked 5 miles on Sunday. So it's going to be good for a little bit of exercise. Freddie, to be retired at the age of 81 would seem very late for French teachers. They take their retirement at 62 at least. Yeah, for here, it would be very old. Most people retire here at 62 to 65. Younger teachers that are getting into the profession now, I think they have to wait until 67. I can retire at 62 if I can afford it. Most of the times, it is insurance. Okay. My daughter says she has a quick question.
Okay. She just asked me, what are we both going to do when we have to work on Monday? She has her car. So like I said earlier, I am just going to walk home and my wife can take me. It's not supposed to rain. So that'll be good. Yeah. Argentinian empanadas. I would agree. They are the best. Here, the temps so high that potato salads go bad fast, easily, unless there is a fridge nearby. So I taught this lesson to my class this week, and I mentioned that anything with mayonnaise, you have to be very careful of. Great point. Let me go back to that big bowl. Now they are selling bowls where like the bottom can be ice. There's a little, like, that bowl does not have it, but there's a little part of the bowl at the bottom where you can put ice cubes in, and it keeps the dish cooler for a little longer. But you do have to be careful of anything made with mayonnaise in the hot temperatures. Great question. Great point, I should say. Point. No, it's Turkish and Swedish too. Fix the camera there. I'm not sure what you're talking about with Turkish and Swedish too. Maybe potato salad. Maybe potato salad. In Italy, we retire at 67. Very nice. In Italy, I think, has one of the longest life expectancies, right? People live a little longer in Italy. And I also think Japan. All right. Back to the English. What do you say? Getaway we talked about, but we didn't talk about a staycation. So think about a vacation or a getaway. But if money is tight, if you don't have a lot of money, you might take a staycation instead of a vacation. Let's talk about that staycation. That is a holiday spent at home or exploring local sites instead of traveling elsewhere. And this family looks like they are visiting Portland, Maine. I've been to Portland many times. That looks like a city not too far away from me. Let's read the sentence. Instead of buying expensive plane tickets, we're having a staycation at home this year. Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, Freddie Wolf just dropped a super chat. Also dropped a super chat last week too. So Freddie, thank you. Merci. Merci, mon ami. Thanks, Brent, for all your amazing job and answers. I used to have a little thing I played, but it's usually pretty loud. I don't know if I still have it. Oh, I do have it. Let's play this for old time's sake. Here we go. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, Freddie. Thank you so much. I hope that wasn't too loud. Sometimes it can be pretty loud, but Freddie, thank you. Let's talk about a block party next. A block party. These are pretty fun. I've been to a few. My neighborhood doesn't do this. I live in a pretty small neighborhood. This might be better for larger neighborhoods. Okay, what am I doing here? Let's get rid of that for now, Freddie. Thank you so much. And let's make this a little bigger. A block party is a big street party where the road is closed so neighbors can hang out and play music. Our street is closed today because everyone is eating and playing music at the block party. Sounds like a good time to me. Next, we have a bonfire. These are fun. At night, during the summer, roasting marshmallows. That is what the people are doing in the picture. Let's talk about that. A large, controlled outdoor fire used for warmth, celebration, or roasting treats at night. And if you take a look at the picture, that family is roasting marshmallows over the bonfire. We sat around the bonfire at night telling stories and roasting marshmallows. Next, to hang out. English phrasal verb here. Maybe this is review, but this is when you spend time with friends or family and you really don't have a plan. You're just relaxing. Let's get the official definition. To spend casual, relaxing time with someone without any strict schedule. Do you want to hang out at my house after class today and listen to music? That sounds fun. That looks like that might be a picture from maybe the 1970s. I don't see any streaming music. I don't even see any CDs. Yeah, that could be from the 1970s. Let's check the chat here, see what's going on. Again, Freddie, thank you so much. In my country, retirement is being delayed. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. So people have to keep working even when they are older. In Spain, teachers retire at 60 to 65. Okay, pretty much the same here. Julia is in Myanmar. I would love to visit Myanmar one day. I hope that civil war can end. To invite people over to your own home and organize the gathering or party. And you can see those two people in the picture who are standing up. It might be their house, and maybe they're hosting that potluck. My parents love to host dinner parties for our relatives during the summer holidays. All right. Hey, please do, Julia. Please do. Hit that smash that like button. Hit that like button. I'm going to take a drink. Much better. Also, in the description or in the pinned comment, if you would like to speak to me one-on-one, I am offering that this summer. I do not have any classes where I have to go to school, so check that out. There is also, yeah, that's a good one to know. There is also a free, yeah, it's still there. If you go to the pinned comment, there is a free PDF you can get that will have all of these slides for you. I think. No, it has all of it written out in a PDF. Yeah. And I think if you go to the files for this lesson, you can get all of the slides. So there are two places to get that information. Next, we have summer food, drinks, and vibes. That means how people are feeling, the vibes. First, we have something that is ice cold. Americans love their ice. They love drinks with ice. Ice cold, extremely cold. The perfect adjective for describing a refreshing summer beverage. Nothing feels better on a hot day than a tall glass of ice cold water, or maybe ice cold lemonade. Please let me know in the chat, what is your favorite iced cold drink or beverage to have in the summer? My favorite food is coming up, and that is watermelon. We'll talk about that in a minute, but lemonade or iced tea, for me, those are two of my favorite drinks to have. Drop a little ice in there. You now have an ice cold drink. If you go to a restaurant in the United States and you order a soft drink like soda, it will probably come with ice. Next, we have to hit the spot. So if you have a refreshing cold drink, an ice cold drink, it could hit the spot. Or if you see in the picture, there's watermelon. On a hot day, if you bite into some watermelon, that might hit the spot. Let's talk about what it means to hit the spot. It's an idiom used when a food or drink is exactly what you wanted or needed. That cold slice of watermelon really hit the spot after our long walk. Okay, we do have some comments coming in for what their favorite drink is on a hot day. Watermelon, aqua Fresca. Ice cold tea. I mean, come on. Watermelon, that definitely hits the spot. Brent, thumbs up. Thank you so much. Yulia, ice water. Can't complain about ice water. Super refreshing. Iced coffee is my favorite drink in the summer, Sandy says. She was talking about hosting that party. It's a full spread. I think we're going to talk about spread in a little bit. It's a full spread in the pitcher. Hosting a party is really stressful. Yes, we have a couple big holidays here in the United States. Sometimes my sister hosts the family. Sometimes my wife and I host the family. Yeah, it can be pretty stressful. Jasmine tea. It's a good one. Tea. It always hits the spot, right? Next, we have to grab a bite. So if you want to sound a little more like a native English speaker, you can use this term. If a native English speaker says this to you, you'll know what they mean. Hey, do you want to grab a bite after work? Grab a bite. It means a casual way to say, let's go get some food quickly. So you're not going to be sitting down for hours. If you grab a bite, it's going to be something quick. And it might not even involve food. You might say, yeah, I'll go. I'm not hungry, but I'll get a coffee or something. So this is something quick if you grab a bite. Let's grab a bite to eat at the cafe before we head to the beach. We'll talk about that in just a bit. What if something is in season? We're usually talking about fruits and vegetables here if something is in season. So where I live, throughout the summer, there will be different fruits that are in season. Sometimes it's strawberries. Sometimes it's raspberries. Sometimes it's blueberries. And towards fall, it's cranberries. But not a lot of people go and pick their own strawberries. I actually have a very old video on this English lesson where I teach English at a fruit farm. I think there are strawberries, blueberries. Yeah, you might want to check that out. You might have to look pretty hard for that one. It is pretty old. If something is in season, it means when fresh crops are fully ripe, ready to harvest at their absolute sweetest. Oh my goodness. Those strawberries in that basket look amazing. And of course, AI designed it, but they do look good. Strawberries are in season right now, so they taste sweet and are very cheap. Yeah, if you go to the farm where they have strawberries, we might call it a strawberry patch. It is a little cheaper than buying it at the store. Oh my goodness. Watermelon? It's too cold where I live to grow watermelon, at least on a big farm. Watermelon is in season in Spain right now. I'm jealous. Mango comes into season during the rainy season in Myanmar. Okay, the rainy season. I think I was in India last year during the rainy season. They call it monsoon season too. It just doesn't rain all the time, but in the afternoon, you are probably going to get drenched, right? It's another way to say really, really wet. I don't know this one, Heidi. My favorite summer drink is ice cold mung bean soup. I would love to try it. Freddie, do you have hosts or are you host? Oh, okay. Independence Day or the 4th of July, Freddie? My brother usually hosts that party. And I actually have done an English lesson about that. I think it's called How Americans Celebrate the 4th of July. There are some Canadians in that video too, I think. Yeah. So I think my brother
he will usually host that party. Yeah. Hey, Julia says, just what the doctor ordered. When something hits the spot, that's what you can say. All right, let's go. We're getting back to the English lesson here. Hey, I wonder. Heidi, are you from South Korea? Good question. We'll find out maybe. Leftovers. So if you go to a potluck or a barbecue and there is too much food to eat, you might have leftovers. So let's talk about what those are. Food that remains uneaten at the end of a meal, served to be enjoyed at a later time. We have some leftovers from yesterday's cookout, so we can just heat them up for lunch. What's next? Oh, finger food. I don't think I have ever taught this before. Finger food. When you go to a cookout, there's a good chance you are going to see finger food. It's basically food you can eat with your fingers. It's small. It's not too messy. Let's get the official definition. Small appetizers meant to be eaten directly by hand without formal forks or knives. And you want to make sure everyone's hands are clean if they are picking up that food. Finger food. They served great finger food like mini sandwiches and chips at the pool party. What's next? A spread. Sandy mentioned this earlier, right? A spread. It's a casual word for an abundant, beautifully arranged feast set up on a table for guests. So lots and lots of good food on the table. Let's get rid of this picture here and read the sentence. Wow. Look at this amazing spread of food you prepared on the picnic table. Well, if you are a vegetarian, I can imagine that's not a great spread. But if you aren't a vegetarian, you might say, ooh, I wouldn't mind grabbing a bite of that. Yeah, I should make a live lesson for the 4th of July, celebrating 250 years of the United States. Watermelon is in season in Turkey too. I bet it's delicious. Yeah, Freddie, we don't use that term. I've heard it before. Chantilly cream? I don't know what we would call that. Probably just cream. Strawberries with cream. Total dream for me. That might be British. Is it Chantilly cream? That might be British. Mr. Fishieri says, wow, I'm hungry now looking at that tasty spread. So I imagine Mr. Fishieri is not a vegetarian. That does look pretty good. It looks like it was cooked on the grill. Julia says it looks delicious and mouth-watering. Yeah, if something looks really good, your mouth might water or you might salivate. That might be the formal verb we might use. And you could call it, whoa, that is mouth-watering. Italy is in the house. Buongiorno. Hi, Brent. My favorite summer food is Italian ice cream. Heck yeah. Gelato, right? Gelato? Yes. Good stuff. Come to Italy, the best place in Europe. Ooh, those could be fighting words for some people. It might make them angry. They might think their place is best in Europe. But I do believe that my wife and I are going to try to get to Italy either in February or April of next year. We are going to try to get to Rome, try to go to the Colosseum. And in fact, a man I work with, he just got back from Italy. He went to Milan and Lake Como. All right. Pictures, real torture. Let's put it up again. Yeah, look at that. That does look like some great food. Maybe potato salad or pasta salad up in the corner. What do we have next? Oh, here's a very casual way. If you are at the cookout and the person who's cooking is about to start cooking, they might say, hey, I'm going to fire up the grill. Or at night in the summer at my house, Sometimes I do grill out and I might say, hey, I'm going to fire up the grill. Does anybody want a hamburger? It's just another very casual way to say you are going to start cooking on the grill. Let's get the official definition. To ignite or turn on the outdoor barbecue grill to start cooking food. Let me get rid of my picture. As soon as the guests arrive, my dad will fire up the grill to start cooking. All right, and that is going to do it for this English lesson about summer. I would love to thank everyone for joining. We will try to do this once a week. Next week, I think I am going to talk about car trouble in English, how to talk to Americans about car trouble. But Sandy, I will be talking to you later this week. I think we have a conversation on Friday, right? Freddie, thank you for joining. Oh, Mega's here from India. Mega has been with the channel almost as long as Celia. 6 years, I believe, right? A little over 6 years, probably. So I must get going. But yeah, I'm so glad. Kate Lee, I'm glad you were able to catch the live lesson. We'll do it again next week. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Adios, amigos.